What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode 97 for your Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. I am your host, JD from New York. As always, joined by the one and only, the man who did not believe in the third man, the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
This is not the third man that you were referring to. Don't pull that shit on me, okay? Don't pull that on me.
I said there would be a third man, and you laughed at me.
Yes, you said there would be a third man with Rock and John Cena. This is a whole different situation here.
I did.
Totally different
I also said in this group, too.
Well, I don't know that I ever said there wouldn't be a third man. I don't recall saying that. You're putting words in my mouth now.
Either way, there's a third man. Are you pleased that there's a third man?
I am. I think he's actually a great fit. I was very surprised to see him back. I wasn't expecting him back this soon. So it's good to have Bronson Reed back on TV.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the third man. We'll talk about his inclusion on Saturday night's main event. We have a loaded show for you guys here tonight. We'll talk about that. We got Double or Nothing. Seemingly, I'm still feeling the effects, as is this guy, from what was a 5.5-hour pay-per-view. We're lucky he stopped at 10 matches. I thought there would be at least 15.
You know,
there's news on the length, by the way. Brian Alvarez got a news article up on the Observer about the length of these shows. We'll read about that too.
Completely just ruins me for the entire week. It's just you're just dragging ass, and it's just I hate that feeling. I hate it. I told
this guy in the sound check before we went live, I peeled myself out of bed on Monday, Memorial Day, only to go lay on my couch 4 hours later and take a 2-hour nap. That's how bad it was.
Well, at least you nap. I mean, I don't do that. So I know I should. So of course I'm the idiot who stays up working all day, and then I end up like an undead zombie.
We'll definitely get into that. We got all the happenings coming out of Double or Nothing, how we felt about several aspects of the show, where it goes into All In. We got the news on WWE heavily counter-programming All In weekend with not one, not two, but 3 shows. Luckily, one of those shows is happening on Sunday and not on Saturday, but they ended up adding one right to go head-to-head with All In anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference. Plus, Bill Goldberg may be retiring that weekend. Man, they don't know when to stop, man. The pettiness has reached peak levels now,
Well, they're not competition, though.
They're not competition, but
I liken it to a cat when it catches a bird, and they just kind of play around with it.
Yeah,
I think their whole attitude about the entire situation. But yes, it's going to be a very, very busy weekend of wrestling. That was the second weekend, I guess it would be in July.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot.
Did you see or happen to see the pre-show, or not the pre-show, the pre-sale code for tickets that weekend, the combo tickets?
I did, but there were a couple people who said that they've used that code before, so I don't know if that's a unique code or not. It's still very interesing. All WWE is the code.
Oh man!
Use code all WWE that weekend.
They're basically just fucking around with them at this point, man.
They know what they're doing. I mean, it's patently obvious.
Yes, we'll definitely get into that. And then the WrestleMania fiasco. It's something that I was very vocal about, though I don't really care where it is. I just want it to be a good show. But WWE pulled out of New Orleans for WrestleMania, and the rumor is now they're going back to Las Vegas. And we all know why. I gave several reasons why. This guy gave several reasons why as well. The one overwhelming reason is because there was someone that bid more money than New Orleans was going to bid on WrestleMania. But we'll definitely talk about that. Dave LaGreca actually had the same viewpoint as I did. I feel for the fans in New Orleans who were very excited about that. But we will definitely get into that discussion. And that was the big story taking over this week. And we're glad that you guys are joining us here on episode 97. We are, after tonight, 2 episodes away from episode 100, and we have a very special commemorative t-shirt that's going on sale as soon as we hit episode 100, and I already got the design. I showed Jason the design. It is by far maybe the best looking design that I think I've ever personally had my liking on, and I know I went back and forth with my guy Dustin on how we can just incorporate both communities together, and I thought he did an absolutely fantastic job. So we have that going on sale 2 Tuesdays from now. So it is going to be a great T-shirt for you guys to go out there and show your support with. So I'm looking forward to that, to see your reaction to that. But that's coming soon. What you guys can do tonight to support. Super chats are open. They will remain open until the end of the show. So get them on in. I already see Sidro and everybody else kind of getting their thoughts and jokes and comments and concerns in. Hit the thumbs up. We hit 1,000 likes every stream. Tonight should be no different. And also, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on this channel. And if you guys want to go find Jason on YouTube as well and on social media, I have linked everything for him down in the description below. And if you guys want any of the music, especially the opening theme to this song, podcast, I did have a Spotify playlist put together, and that is down in the description below as well. Not only that track, but most of the tracks I play on my own stream, it is all there for you guys because that's been heavily requested. So I finally found time this week and put all that together for you guys. So go and check that out. All right, man. I see Mike Santana on NXT. People talking about Mike Santana. If you don't know who Mike Santana is, now you know, and you will know. So congratulations to him for making NXT tonight. Couldn't have happened to a more professional individual than Mike Santana.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up first. The fact that he's been a little busy over the last several days, and it's great to see this. This was inevitable. I think you would agree.
Yeah,
I think we're on the same page with this. Just being able to kind of watch him up close, do what he does month in and month out for so long. This was inevitable. It was just a matter of when, not so much a matter of if. And so to see him getting the opportunity now to show more people what he can do, and clearly, in a position where he's going to be the man in TNA, it's only a matter of time. It's a very cool feeling. So I know he was on NXT tonight. I think his match just wrapped up. And I, again, on my platform, floated several days ago where I think his path is going to be taking him, which I believe is to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship right here in New York this summer. I think that's going to be his crowning moment. Like you said, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Absolutely. He still owns, as far as I've been doing commentary with Jason, probably the best independent match. Probably the best match that I called with Jason was the match last year at Mike Santana's Puerto Rican weekend. Him and Amazing Red. Absolutely. Just, if you have not watched any part of that match, I believe it is on the House of Glory YouTube channel. Fucking phenomenal match. Probably one of the best world championship matches on the indie circuit that you will ever see. And that is it just goes to show you how great not only Red still is, but Mike Santana and how far he's come as a professional wrestler, leaving AEW, leaving his tag team behind and going and just betting on himself. You guys are going to soon find out what we've all been talking about. And I always usually say, don't ever doubt Mike Santana. Stop doubting him. Hopefully this leads to him becoming the face of TNA. And like I said, much deserved for him. So congratulations to him for sure.
Yeah. I mean, people in the crowd love to chant, Tony fumbled when Ricky Starks comes out and other people come out. But you know what? Honestly, I think when all is said and done, you'll really be able to make the case for that for someone like Mike Santana, because he is someone who wanted to branch away from tag team wrestling. It was a goal that he had. He wanted to see if he could make it on his own. He knew there was potential there to do something special as a single star. Other people didn't share that point of view. And he said, well, I share that point of view. So I'm going to go somewhere else and prove all the doubters wrong. And he's doing that. So it's very cool.
Yeah, definitely. We will definitely get into some of, Jason mentioned AEW. I'm going to leave it up to you, man. As always, what do you want to talk about? I think a lot of fans want to hear us talk about Double or Nothing. I'm not sure if you want to start off there.
We could. I mean, I was going to just throw it to you briefly just to see if you wanted to just briefly touch on Battleground, because I did not watch Battleground live. I know you didn't watch it live either, but I did catch up with it after the fact. And not really a lot to get into, but I thought it was a very good show.
Yeah.
I thought that the women's match between Stephanie and Jordynne Grace was very good. I thought there was a pretty decent chance Jordynne Grace would win the championship, but it didn't happen. So Stephanie's reign continued. And maybe realistically, they probably want her to be champion maybe at that Worlds Collide show. So I guess that makes sense. But that was a great one. Obafemi and Miles Bourne. Yeah, that was a big platform for Miles Bourne, the biggest match of his career. it is eerie. I have to say, when I watch him in the ring and the way he moves around and some of the moves, because people make fun of him. They say, Timu Randy Orton or, Deaf Orton or whatever people say about him. But you know what? He really does, right? Move around and work in the ring like Randy Orton.
Man, even his ring attire, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, just the ring attire, the body type, the snap powers, like the stuff that he does. I feel sometimes like I'm watching a young Randy Orton. So, it's not hard to see why people make those comparisons. But if he could have a career even remotely close to what Randy Orton has had, then I think he'll do well for him. Oh, he's doing well for himself anyway, since he is.
Gee, I wonder why, chat.
He's a little friendly with one of the champions in NXT. So
lucky
even
guy.
though he may lose, but he still wins. So look, that was a very good match. And then the big story, Trick Williams, walking out as the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion for the first time. A WWE guy won the TNA World title.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see Trick Williams win the NXT Championship. I know Jason just mentioned that Mike Santana. He talked about it on the sound off that Mike Santana in New York, when TNA comes to the UBS Arena, him and Trick could be a potential direction for that, where Mike Santana would win the TNA title in New York City. I think that's the right way to go about it there. Trick is a good direction for that to happen. I'm not surprised to see that happen. The women's match, I'm surprised that we did not. Actually, you make a good point with the CM, not the AAA. I'm thinking fucking AEW. The AAA show coming up with Stephanie and her inclusion there, because she was presented behind Triple H when they made that announcement at WrestleMania. Not surprised to see her lose, but if she did lose, I think she is going to be included in this new women's evolution build that we have coming up on July 13th. I figured if she did lose, she'd get called up. Now it's the other way around, Jason, with Stephanie retaining and Jordan losing. Do you see Jordan Grace getting called up to the main roster? Because I certainly feel like she has done what she needed to do down there since coming to WWE, and I think she would be, she's ready for TV, and she would be a shoo-in on either one of those women's divisions on the main roster.
Yeah, what's left for her to do? Nothing. And I feel like she's had the opportunities. She hasn't won the championship. Now she lost. Where does she go from here? So, yeah, if Stephanie's not going to be moved up, then it should be Jordan. Now, whichever one it is, they should be going to Raw, because I would not have them on the same brand with Julia. Julia's on SmackDown now. So I would have them on Raw. But, yeah, if it's not going to be Stephanie, then it should be Jordan. They want to keep Stephanie there for a few more months. That's fine. But, yeah, I just don't know where she even goes from here. Sol Ruka, and I forgot to mention her, she's got the North American Championship. I don't see Jordan going after that. I wouldn't have her go after that. It just feels beneath her. I think that title is something Sol should hold on to for a while and just build her name up a little bit more. The match she had with Kalani Jordan to open the show, also very good. And everybody was talking about her and that Soul Snatcher at the end of the match. So she's super athletic. She's improving, each time that you see her. She's got tremendous fan support. She's going to be a big star for them. But I think that's a good spot for her to be in, holding that title, for the foreseeable future. Maybe at some point defending against Zarya. I know right now they're on the same side, but I don't know. What do you think? Could that be a direction where they end up one-on-one against each other at some point?
Yeah, it took the words right out of my mouth. I feel like that's just kind of a common logic storyline there. I felt like Zarya was going to be a heel coming on in anyway. She ended up being a babyface. So I do think that a heel turn is on the horizon eventually. I'm not high on Kalani Jordan as other people might be. I think there's potential there, but the one thing, and this may be because I'm very picky when it comes to certain things, and I'm very picky with my pro wrestling, is I feel like she's very choreographed. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but a lot of people were making a big deal about like some of the things that they were doing, how athletic they are, which is great, and they are. But I do feel like it is very choreographed to a point where it's like it almost doesn't feel natural. You know what I mean?
Well, you're talking about Kalani specifically, because I feel that way. And now, look, I like Sol Ruka, but I also feel that way about a lot of the stuff that she does, including the Soul Snatcher, because there are certain situations where the person has to be in just exactly the right position. And even the one that she did at Battleground, if you go back and watch it was very impressive. But when she came off the ropes, it looked like Jordan had to kind of like dive into it.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. I agree. There are and you have a lot of these women who I think come from a gymnastics background, so they do all this very impressive gymnastics type offense, but it does sometimes feel like they're doing a routine, and you have to be in just the right position. It's a problem, honestly, across wrestling right now in both companies. I think we get that quite a bit, but I did notice that a few times in that match. So I mean, I think that's a fair point. Doesn't mean that we're shitting on them and they're no good. It just means that a lot of the offense that they have and some of these big fancy moves they come up with, it does look like there's a lot of cooperation that's needed just to make sure it gets pulled off the right way.
Yeah, a lot of people point to AEW doing that almost every week, and a lot of people flame me for liking Will Ospreay because they feel like Will Ospreay does that, but I'm like, you know, I mean, you're comparing two completely different athletes. I mean, Will Ospreay and Kalani Jordan, I mean, sure, it may be choreographed to some, or it might come off that way, but I'm not going to sit here and compare what Will Ospreay can do compared to what Kalani Jordan's doing. It's just two different athletes. But yeah, I do get that sense that is a lot of that is happening now across pro wrestling. It's just very noticeable, and I like my pro wrestling to be or feel a little bit more natural. But take nothing away from both ladies. They are definitely two future pieces of the division, and everybody loves Sol Ruca. She's got a great vibe, and that North American Championship should remain on her. It's like the IC title. I don't think that someone like Jordan Grace should win something like that, or one of the more established women should win something like that. Let one of the younger ladies run with it and build their credibility up through the championship. Tag team titles, Hank and Tank. They defeated, and Josh Briggs, I'm sorry. They are the tag team champions. With Josh Briggs defeated the Culling. That's Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Sean Spears. That was a six-man tag team match. Shannon Stacks Lorenzo defeated Tony D'Angelo. And then, like Jason says, Stephanie defeated Jordan. Obafemi defeated Miles Bourne. And then Trick Williams defeated Joe Hendry. I actually enjoyed Stand and Deliver more, Jason. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, I mean, what were the key matches on Stand and Deliver?
Those triple threat, the ladies triple threat matches.
Right. Okay.
I think the ladder match, and then the men's triple threat match with Javon Evans.
Yeah, that was a stronger show.
Yeah.
But see, that's how much wrestling we watch. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what happened on that show? I don't remember. It was only a few weeks ago. But yeah, so that was the stronger of the two shows. But I still thought Battleground was very good. I did not think it was the show of the weekend. I know that's very divisive online. Everyone has their opinion about which show was better. I did think the AEW show was better, but we could talk about that. But, you know, you got two very good shows, is what you got on Sunday. I wish I could say the same about the show on Saturday, but I will not.
Yes, we will. We will definitely get into that. I ranted and people laughed, and it's commercial after commercial after commercial. I guess we'll go into Double or Nothing, being that we talked about Battleground that happened on Sunday. Went head to head with Double or Nothing. AEW presented Double or Nothing. This is their 6 years now for this particular event. I was at the first one. Jason was at the first one. It was a great time in Las Vegas. And I made a big stink, Jason, like I usually do, that the build going into this show was not up to par with some of their previous versions of Double or Nothing. I feel like if they didn't have the Owen and the importance of the Owen with the number one contendership on the line for All In, what would we really be looking at for this show? There'd be Anarchy in the arena with a Death Riders angle and a story that the majority of the fan base wants to see end, and that's really it. Everything else was just pieced together. A lot of this show just felt very haphazardly put together, as if Tony Khan woke up one morning and said, I want to see Speedball Mike Bailey and Kazuchika Okada wrestle for the Continental title. That's a great match for the show. And then Sabu's inspiration with a stretcher match with Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. Yeah, we'll do that. And
which wasn't a stretcher match.
What do you mean?
It was an ambulance match.
Oh, whatever. Stretcher match, ambulance match, whatever.
Basically, it was a fucking ambulance match. I don't know why they called it a stretcher match for.
Oh, I thought I messed up. There you go.
No. It was billed a stretcher match, but I'm watching this, and they pull the ambulance into the back of the arena, and the objective is to get the guy in the ambulance and shut the door. I'm like, that's a fucking ambulance match. I don't know why
I honestly didn't even make that correlation until you just mentioned it now.
It's like obvious.
So yeah, that was on the show. We got a tag team match with FTR, Nigel McGuinness and Danny Garcia. Why we got a 6-man tag team match with Paragon and the Don Callis family. At that point, I wanted to fucking grab a pillow and fall asleep right on the fucking living room floor at that point. I'm like, holy shit. But I want to read this, Jason, before we get into the discussion of Double or Nothing, because Brian Alvarez said this on The Observer today, and it's in regards to the length of these shows. Now, if this is coming from The Observer, which is mostly pro-AEW, you know there's a problem. People in AEW believe their pay-per-views, including Double or Nothing, are too long. He says, and I quote, "Yesterday, I spent the whole day talking to all sorts of people in AEW. I will say with one exception, because if I say everybody, then you know, but it was actually everybody. Every single person was like, these shows are too long. We all know it. They should end before midnight on the East Coast. Every single person in the company that I talked to, except Tony, because I didn't talk to him, because of course he doesn't think they're too long. Every single person is there saying they're too long. He just does it. We can't stop it. There's nothing that can be done. The shows are too long. Everyone knows it except Tony and a small handful of the sickos that would watch the show if it were 9 hours long." End quote. Jason, I don't think people really understand how much of a problem this is until I don't know how it could be fixed. But, you know, I feel like Tony's intentionally making these shows longer. I mean, this show was longer than Dynasty. And I'm looking at the clock, and I know you went live. I went live. The main event did not start until 11:47 p.m. until the bell rang. I was looking at my iPhone specifically to see when this bell was going to ring. And then when we got to the match, it's unfair to both Hangman and Will Ospreay because it's legitimately the only match that I genuinely, emotionally cared about on this show. By the time the bell rang to start that match, Jason, I didn't give a single shit about the match. I just wanted it to be over. That's unfair to both of those guys. Even though the match was great, I didn't care as much as I should have because of the length of the show. I know you feel it. I feel it. Everybody feels it. What needs to be done here? And how does Tony get the idea that these shows are too long to lessen the show? Do we move it back to 7 o'clock instead of 8? That would help a lot just by doing that. Do we just book 6 matches like originally thought instead of doing the fucking 9 matches? Half the show should have been saved for Dynamite or Collision. What do you think about this?
In a perfect world, you would shave off, X number of matches and you would try to keep it. I think 8 is a good number. Like up until the week of the show, they had 8 matches, I think, officially announced. And I was like, you know what? I know it's not going to stay like that, but if it did, that's actually a good number. If you just kept it at 8 matches, that's fine. And then he added a 9th and a 10th, and there might have been 11 matches. And then some people will say, well, just don't watch the pre-show. If you don't watch the pre-show, then it's not so bad.
No,
it is. Well, I did. I did watch the pre-show, okay? Speak for yourself, pal. So I sat through the pre-show. But even if I didn't sit through the pre-show and watch it, I would still feel the same way because the show is ending very, very late. And honestly, even if I wasn't reviewing the show, let's take the whole content creator aspect out of this because not everybody has the same issue that you and I have with that, but I would still feel the same way. And when I'm watching this show, and Anarchy in the Arena was 35 minutes long. And, we'll talk about the match when we get there, but Anarchy in the Arena ends, and I had forgotten. This happens a lot where it's like, we must have the main event next. Yeah. And then I realized, oh shit, there's another match before the main event. And dude, it's 11:20. And they're not even getting to the main event. And you're going to honestly tell me you don't think that there's an issue here with the length of these shows? So in a perfect world, you would just shave the number of matches down. I like the idea that you mentioned moving the show back an hour from 8 p.m. Eastern to 7 o'clock Eastern. I think that would be a great idea too. And I think actually that's very reasonable. If you don't want to cut down on the number of matches, just bump the show back by an hour. The thing is, like, the person in charge here, he doesn't think anything is wrong. And he knows that people are paying $50 for these shows. It's a very different thing than the WWE shows because you just sort of take it for granted. If you have a Peacock subscription, you just put Peacock on. You don't have to plunk down $50 for every PLE. With AEW, it's the traditional pay-per-view model. And in his mind, he must feel, at least in part, well, I got to give the audience their money's worth. And so I know as a fan, this is what I would want to see. And so this is what everybody else wants to see. And so he feels the need to overload these shows with as much great wrestling as he could possibly stuff in there and also try to get as many people on the show as possible. And what you end up doing is you end up, I think, like you said, taking away from some of the other big matches that come later in the show. because unless you have like an out of this world outstanding match that people are going to be up for no matter what, and they were, for that main event on Sunday, you've given people everything you could possibly see, every imaginable spot, so many near falls, blood, violent, like you've given them everything, and then it's like, well, now we have to give more. And it's just his mentality. So what can be done? Nothing can be done. You could bump the show back by an hour. I mean, again, I think that's a reasonable thing to do. He's not going to cut down on the length of the shows. He's just not going to do it because he thinks this is what people want to see. This is what he wants to see. And every show is the greatest show that, has ever been produced. So that's just the way it is. There's nothing that could be done. But I just think it takes away from some of the later matches on the show when you send them out there so late in the night, when you've just exhausted every possible thing that you can do. There is something to be said for leave them wanting more. Some of the best wrestling shows I ever saw, when they were over, I'm like, man, that's it. Oh, I can't wait. I got to tune in next time, man. This was unbelievable.
I don't want to mention it because everybody says I mention it. And there was a guy in the comment section last week. It's never a show. JD can never go a show without mentioning Black and Gold. But I mean, look at what Triple H did with Black and Gold takeovers. They did 5 matches. Maybe if he was feeling fucking frisky one month, 6 matches, but it was mostly 5 matches. All of them felt important. And by the time you were finished watching the show, it ended at 2 hours, and you were left. Is that it? I could go another 2-3 matches.
Yeah,
that's what I want to feel.
Yeah, but that we're not getting 5 matches.
I understand that. Yes,
that's ridiculous. There's got to be a happy medium. Okay, There are WWE shows where it's 5 matches, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
Because you get 5 matches. Okay, you could tally up the amount of wrestling that you'll get on the show. And sometimes the amount of non-wrestling that you get, including breaks and entrances and all the bullshit that comes in between, will actually outnumber the amount of wrestling that you'll get.
Saturday Night's Main Event.
Exactly. So we get that sometimes in WWE, and that's not the answer either. So find that happy medium. We don't need 5 matches, but we don't need 10 or 11 on every show. So that's why I think like 7 or 8. That's a reasonable number. And you keep people wanting more. And then if it means taking 2 matches off the show and throwing it on Dynamite and giving Dynamite a banger match, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okada and Mike Bailey, you mentioned them before.
Would have been a fantastic Dynamite main event.
Absolutely. Well, main event or not, but that would have been a fantastic Dynamite match. Or you had the option of adding them to Anarchy in the Arena if you wanted to make it 7-on-7.
Yes.
Could have done that too, but there were more than a few matches on the show when it was over where it was like, this didn't need to be on here, this didn't need to be on here, and this didn't need to be on here. And it would have tightened things up and it would have made the show more palatable.
Yeah, it's just fucked up. It's like backwards. Like we should not be looking at a show and the first thing we do is omit matches. Yeah, that shouldn't be here, this shouldn't be here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like I feel for the Paragon guys, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and then, the Don Callis family. Look at the collection of talent on that team. You got Takeshita, Josh Alexander, Kyle Fletcher. Who's talking about their 6-man tag team match coming out of Double or Nothing? I mean, it's like give them a spotlight to get their story out there when nothing else is going on around them, especially something like Anarchy in the Arena. They got shafted more than anybody because they were asked to go out there. Yeah, guys, we just had this 35-minute barn burner of a match where they fought all over the building and we got fucking chaos everywhere and bodies hit the floor. And we're going to actually go out there and just calm the crowd down before we go to the main event. Can you do that?
Yeah, I did. I actually laughed because when I realized what was coming up next, coming off Anarchy in the Arena, they go, Paragon is next. Are you fucking shitting me?
Bro, I swear to God, man, I swear to you and everybody here, I got up, I didn't watch 1 minute of the match, but I went to go make another fucking cup of coffee because I knew we'd be here for another 4 hours with our streams going on later, man. I couldn't do it.
I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But it just goes to what we're talking about here. It's just completely unnecessary. But yeah, it's like he likes to book these fantasy cards, every single month and just fill them up as much as he possibly can. I think people make very valid points when they sometimes will point out the lack of wrestling or the low number of matches on WWE PLEs. Sometimes it works out well. Sometimes it's like, you know what? You could have thrown an extra match or 2 in there. I know I'm not paying $50 every month for it, but still. But there's got to be a happy medium. It's either one extreme or the other. Like, why can't we find that middle ground?
Yeah, I agree. It's something that seemingly is a nice, easy compromise to just lessen the show from 8 to 7 p.m. 8 matches, like Jason said, would be perfect for that roster, for those shows. And it's not just an isolated incident with AEW. You know, it's obviously, and I said this on my Saturday Night's Main Event review, where I talked about one company is doing very little and the other company is doing too much. There is no happy medium. This is what I said. One brand is doing fucking nothing but advertisements and as little pro wrestling as possible, and then the other company is doing way too much pro wrestling, and there's not enough story and there's not enough, you know, they don't let anything breathe over there. I don't know what's going on this year. I wish WWE would tighten things up. I wish AEW would tighten things up. These seem to be easy fixes for both companies, but we haven't seen any signs of them fixing anything. But yes, this will be a common thing, and I don't know how Tony Khan's going to get the idea to say, hey, you know what? Maybe these guys are right. Let's scale it back. But the $50 price tag, I know Jason mentioned the $50 price tag, and I know Tony thinks along those lines. I got to give them $50 worth. But I honestly, this is just me speaking from my personal experience. If I paid $50 and all I got was Mercedes versus Jamie Hayter, Anarchy in the Arena, and Will Ospreay Hangman, and we got a 3.5-hour show, my $50 would have been well worth spent. I don't know how anybody else feels, but that's just the way I look at it. It's the quality of everything going on, not the amount of shit that I'm getting. So
that's how it always used to be, though. I mean, like, if you think back to some of the greatest pay-per-views, like wrestling shows, WWE shows, years and years ago, when they were on pay-per-view, and some of the greatest shows you've ever seen, those pay-per-views were probably, you know, $40 or $50 at that time. And I'll guarantee you that most of those shows probably didn't have any more than 6 to 8 matches max. And there were plenty of shows where I felt like I got my money's worth and they were over. I don't remember ever thinking, man, there's not enough matches on this show. Like I never ever thought that. It all comes down to the types of matches and stories going into the show, and you know the shows would play out. Maybe there were 7 matches, and it was fine. So like, there's no exact number where, oh, I have to give people, you know, X number of matches on this show, and like that doesn't exist. It's an arbitrary thing. It's just a feeling, and I find myself feeling just exhausted when these shows are over, in a way that I don't when I watch any other wrestling show, except maybe the Tokyo Dome shows, and that's once a year. What we're talking about is a monthly issue with AEW. This wouldn't even necessarily be a big deal if we were talking about 1 or 2 special shows a year. If All In, let's say, had 12 matches and it went 5 hours, I'd still be, it would be a long, exhausting show, but it's like, you know what? It's their big annual stadium show. I get it. But this is every single time. Like,
Dynasty doesn't need to be 5.5 hours.
No.
Like, World's End doesn't need to be 5.5 hours, okay?
Well, we're getting 4-hour Dynamites and Collision back-to-back soon.
Don't remind me, man. That's coming up next week, man. Don't remind me.
Oh, my God. Yeah, some people think it's tomorrow. It's not tomorrow. It's actually, it starts next week. It's 2 weeks in a row because of NHL coverage, I guess, is bumping Collision from Saturdays. So they're doing Dynamite and Collision back-to-back. I implore Tony Khan, if I have one request, because I know one thing that they might want to do is if they have a big match, a big main event, they might be inclined to kind of tease it out until the very end and make people stick around for it. I really hope they do treat it like we're keeping Dynamite from 8 to 10 and we're booking Collision from 10 to 12 like we always do, because that way when Dynamite's over, I can go do my thing and not feel like I'm missing out on anything.
So Jason basically is asking for Hologram versus Angelico so he doesn't have to watch Collision.
Please do Angelico and Hologram at 10:01 p.m. to kick off Collision. If I have one request.
Yes, that would
please and thank you.
Yes, you could put my name into that hat as well. I would very much appreciate that. Bro, we're getting another tournament, man. You excited about this? A Kenny Omega Invitational, man, because we all know he's not going to All In for the Continental Championship match with Okada, right?
What's going to happen if he loses the international title to Mascara Dorada before he gets to Arlington?
I don't know. I'm going with Hechicero as the new international champion, bro.
It's going to be Hechicero against Okada in Texas?
Yeah, that's what's going on there, yeah. Yes, I mean, again, that is a nice segue into the predictable build that was Double or Nothing. We'll start with this. This opened the show. Match was fantastic. I want to get that out there first and foremost. The match was great. I do believe it was Mercedes' best match in North America this year. Jamie Hayter really hasn't had anything happen since she's gotten back, so it was her best match by default since she's gotten back to AEW healthy when she returned last year on the buy-in at All In London. They opened the show. Mercedes is going to All In. She is going for the World Championship against Toni Storm. This was a great match, Jason. Hell of an opener. I thought Mercedes and Jamie worked very well together. They got plenty of time to really show what Jamie Hayter is capable of. I hope that transitions into her getting more TV time. But everybody here, including us, is talking about Mercedes. Now, Jason and I talked about this last week, and we definitely talked about it individually on our own platforms. Our heart wanted Jamie, but it's foolish to book against Mercedes. And that's exactly what they went with. They're going with Mercedes and Toni Storm.
Well, so she 27-0 now, yes. I believe, is 27.
I thought it was 26. It's 27.
Well, didn't she have a match on Collision against a CMLL
That's correct.
wrestler?
27-0, yeah.
Yes, so she is now 27-0, and I suspect the way things are going, she'll be. Well, I mean, who knows how many matches she'll have between now and then? She may be 30-0. After she beats Toni, assuming she beats Toni. At All In. But look, I mean, it was a great match. I don't think it was the best match that she had in this tournament. I actually think the match she had with Athena was better.
Oh, really? I think this one was the best match she had.
Yeah, no, I think I go with the Athena match over this one just slightly. But they were both great matches. Look, the thing about her, you say whatever you want to about the booking and her being undefeated and having all these belts, because now she has another one. When she shows up on the big stage for a big match, more often than not, she delivers. So her body of work speaks for itself. She's had a lot of very good to great matches since joining AEW, both in AEW and some of these international matches that she's had.
Which is why I think the Mercedes hate in ring is very bizarre. Like, I don't know why people don't think she's a great wrestler.
Yeah. I mean, if you hate the booking of her character on TV or the character itself, or like, those are valid criticisms if you don't like her for that reason. But in ring, I mean, she goes out there and she kills it pretty much every single time. And I'm sure it'll be no different in Texas, her and Toni Storm. I'm not saying that's not going to be a great match. I'm not saying it's not a big match. I just wonder, what the end goal is here is what I wonder. Because if we assume that she goes into Texas and wins, right? Let's say she wins. And now she's the TBS champion and the women's world champion. Like, what do you do next? Like, what would the purpose of that even be? We just went through something similar in NXT where Stephanie Vaquer beat Julia and she had 2 titles. And we were assuming, well, they'll probably just have her, surrender the other one and defend the world title. And then she defended both belts that one week, and then they did that. But like in this case, like, what would the point of that even be? It's so pointless to me. So if Toni wins. Now, the TBS title, they haven't said that's on the line. This is only for the Women's World Championship. Toni beats Mercedes, right? Toni Storm is already the top female talent. She's the world champion. Like, what does she gain by being the first person to beat Mercedes?
Nothing.
When you can take that, and it would be a far bigger deal for almost anybody else if they were the first one to beat Mercedes. So I just look at it as a lose-lose situation.
This is why I don't understand people getting upset at me for raising this as a topical discussion coming out of this match. They don't understand. Look at the names here, Jason. Willow, Sky Blue, Zeuxis, Vaquer. That was last year, Forbidden Door. Nyla Rose, Shida, Britt Baker, Emi Sakura, Queen Aminata, Statlander, Anna Jay, Mina, Yuka, Momo, Harley, Billy Starks, Robin Renegade, Athena, Julia Hart, and Jamie Hayter. Are any of these women over? Have they put anything into anybody else in the division? This is just names. These are just names that Mercedes has beaten along the way. Has anybody in this division had any stock at all to even warrant beating Mercedes or Toni and getting to the next level? The problem with this match is this is it. If Mercedes wins, there's nowhere else for her to go because she beat everybody. If Toni wins, there's nowhere else to go for Toni because she's beaten everybody. They don't have an option C, an option D, E, F, G. They don't have anybody else but these 2 top stars. There's nobody in this division that you can call a top star. The one I'd like to see them make a top star into is Willow or Chris Statlander, and they've both dropped the ball, or Creative has dropped the ball on both of them, and nothing has materialized there. So like you're asking, where do we go? There is nowhere to go. Do you want to know where I think we go from here? Mercedes wins. She drops the TBS title. It's vacant. They hold a tournament or some sort of gimmick match for it, or they get rid of it completely. And the way that they start building everybody else up, because they fed everybody to both of these women to get this match, is they create women's tag team titles. And I do think that women's tag team titles are coming, because you see the vibe in AEW where a lot of these women are paired off together, and they're going to use that as a vehicle to say, hey, look, we do have a division and everybody else is over. These two are tag team champions and everybody else is going to be just fine. That's where they're going to go with this, and that's my prediction.
Well, my prediction is they're not going to retire the TBS title. They're just going to add women's tag team titles. So I do think, and Tony said as much. He was asked about it the other day in, maybe it was before the pre-show scrum a few days before, but whatever it was. And he basically, without saying it directly, was like, yeah, that's probably something we're going to do at some point. And I got that sense also watching on the pre-show. They had a match where Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford were tag partners against Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. And I was watching that and I was thinking, okay, this is maybe an early look at like some of the pairings that we're going to have here. But I looked at it as they almost need something like women's tag team titles just because they have nothing else to fight for. That was supposed to be the whole point of the TBS title, was to give other people who are not in competition for the women's world championship something to fight for. That's my other issue with all this. Mercedes has had that title on lockdown now it's officially over a year. So Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale and Mina Shirakawa and all these people, like in many cases who have already been beaten, what do they have to fight for?
Nothing.
That's why the women's tag team title thing is at least something. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them add new titles, but it's inevitable they're going to do it. But they have nothing else to fight for. So the whole division is hamstrung until something happens here. You mentioned Mercedes can just vacate the title. That would be fucking asinine. After all this time, it comes to an end by her just saying, well, nobody could beat me, so I'm just going to give the belt up. Do you know how ridiculous that would be?
Well, what are the options that they have for this match? It's either going to be just for Tony's title and then Mercedes wins both titles, or it's going to be title for title and Mercedes wins both titles. What's the end goal here? Mercedes is not losing this match. There's no reason for Mercedes to lose this match. We got here, they gave her literally everything, and she's going into All In, and she's going to win both titles.
But that's why I said I don't know what the end goal is here. Like, I'm trying to see what the logic.
Who's left for her to wrestle after this? Has anybody thought what happens after All In?
I would hope Tony has, but what that magic match is or what that vision is, I don't know.
Camille? Is Camille going to somehow just show her after all these months?
Yeah, she's finally going to show back up, and yeah, I don't know, dude. Like,
look at what they did with Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne had 2 months of build on TV as the female Brock Lesnar, and that's exactly where I was going. Brock Lesnar, female Brock Lesnar in that division. She got a match with Tony, and she lost, and now she's on the buy-in with fucking Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. And then you got Mina, who just got here, and within 2 weeks wins a fatal four-way match and gets a championship match on pay-per-view that she lost. Both lost. Why is anybody standing up for this reckless booking? I don't get it. It's so stupid. Now when you talk about this match and then we get Mercedes winning the title, who is left for Mercedes after she's beaten everybody and made everybody look weak? Who? Willow? Like, I'd like to see that, but I mean, you got to do... Who the fuck knows, Jason? I don't know who she is, and I'm going to... Listen,
Spider Lady.
I understand, but, you know, some may know her, some might not know her. I don't know her. Who is she to this audience, and why would that be important?
Well, I'll tell you what, though. If you wanted to establish her very, very quickly and make people understand that this is somebody that you need to pay attention to, what they would do is have her debut and have Mercedes call her out or something and have her beat Mercedes in her first match. Handily. Because we've had...
For the TBS title?
Sure. Sure.
Man, you're really asking Tony Khan a lot there, man.
Why? Why am I asking him a lot? If he's going to bring this woman in and she's got a little bit of fanfare, but there's a lot of people who don't know who she is. If you want to establish her as a force on day one, which they could have done, I mean, it was almost like people thought they might do that with Megan Bayne and Toni Storm, and they didn't. But you could do that with Thekla. I don't even know too much about her. I've seen a couple of her matches. I'm not as familiar with her as some other people might be, so I'm kind of in the same boat. But boy, you'd get my attention if she showed up one week and all of a sudden she put Mercedes down in like 3 minutes. Holy shit.
I mean, that would be a creative decision. I'll tell you that. I mean, after all this time, that's what you're going to go with. After all this time, I'm like, okay.
I'm not saying it's the ideal situation. I'm trying to game this out though and try to get that title away from her. If the end goal is to put the world title on her, because she doesn't need both.
It could be.
How do they get the TBS title away from her? Potentially even before we get to Texas, as unlikely as that seems, but. How do you do that? That's one way to do it.
It could be Thekla. It could be one of the ladies that just got released from W. It could be Dakota Kai for all we know. We don't know. I mean, who's going to come on in? Who Tony's going to sign to bring on in? I'm assuming he'll grab at least one or two of those ladies. I don't know. But the end goal here is it leaves a division in their wake just because they want this major match for their biggest show of the year, which there are ways to do that and there are ways to get there. I just would have appreciated them to also build up the division at the same time while also giving us this mega match. You have this mega match happening at this show, and then there's legitimately no other mega matches for you to do because you've ran through all of them, and you've created no new superstars along the way. That's the problem that I have. I don't dislike Mercedes. I think she's an unbelievable professional wrestler. I don't really understand this narrative. People don't really understand that I want better for the division, and I want more stars like Mercedes and Tony. We don't have that. What good is a division if you're giving everything to one woman and then everybody else is just fighting for scraps? I never understood that mentality. Like, your top of the card should be flourishing with talent that are going to take Mercedes' spot if, God forbid, she gets injured, or if she can't do it no more, or if she leaves and goes back to WWE. Who else is there to pick up the pieces? You don't got anybody right now. They should always have that mentality in mind. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah. I mean, and there's always the possibility that they want to run it back and go for a third match with her and Statlander. Sure. And this time Statlander goes over. So, which I wouldn't mind. I'm trying to see the vision here and make sense of it where I go, oh, okay, I get it now. And this is going to benefit everybody in the end. I'm not seeing it. We'll see how it plays out between now and Texas, but I think we've said our piece on this. I think we can move on. Yeah,
that's that. Mercedes Tony All In Women's World Championship. FTR, they wrestled Danny Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. It was fine. I mean, you mean to get me to watch Collision. I mean, it's.
We were talking about the length of the show. They gave this match 22 minutes.
Listen, I appreciate them trying to tell a story. I appreciate them having consistent weeks of television trying to tell that story. It is a story, Jason, we don't give a shit about.
You could tell that story in 15 minutes. Not 22 minutes on a show that was going 5.5 hours.
We got no Adam Copeland here, by the way. You think Copeland would come back and maybe...
You want to add more to the show?
In that 15 minutes, sure, yes.
I think we got enough.
I don't know. What'd you think of this? Did you care about this at all?
I thought that as a match, it was fine. I still very much like seeing Nigel McGuinness be able to come back here and there and wrestle, because he didn't get to do that or chose not to do that for so long. So that's fine. This is one of those matches, though. I was not personally invested in this match going into it. I was not invested in the story they were telling. So it was hard for me to get into it or get super excited. The match itself, the wrestling was fine, but beyond that, it didn't really do much for me. This was an obvious win for FTR because they went heel. They have a new manager, and clearly they're going to be built up at some point for a tag team title match or a match with Copeland and Christian maybe. So the outcome here was pretty obvious. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have Daniel Garcia and the announcer beat FTR when they just went heel. So, I mean, it was the right outcome, and there was nothing wrong technically with the match in the ring, but I just really couldn't bring myself to care.
Yeah, if they omitted this match and the 6-man tag team match that happened after Anarchy in the ring, we would have been a little bit more enthusiastic about the rest of this show. I would have, if they omitted this match and kept the next match, Ricochet and Mark Briscoe in a stretcher/ambulance match.
Ambulance match, thank you. Yes, that's what it was.
I would have been okay. Again, just like the last match that we talked about, the FTR match with Danny Garcia and Nigel McGuinness, this could have been a solid Collision Saturday night main event. It didn't need to be something that we saw on pay-per-view, but his thinking is, Ricochet is one of my greatest stars, and I need to have one of my greatest stars on pay-per-view. So let's give you a match. Meanwhile, there was really no story coming into this. They did it as an homage to Sabu on his passing. And for what it was, I thought this was a very good match. Jason, Mark Briscoe, and Ricochet just don't have bad matches. The only negative I would say here is, I guess the environment and the stipulation called for it. But I said this to Jesse on early Monday morning when we reviewed the show. The amount of blood that I seen here could have been lessened a little bit, or if in a better situation, maybe no blood at all, because Anarchy in the arena happened, and you'd want to give that visual to the Anarchy in the arena match. Why would we want to see the amount of blood that we've seen here if we're just going to get it later on in the show? So that was the only negative takeaway here, outside of the fact that I would have saved this for Collision. Otherwise, I thought this was a great match, and Ricochet's doing some great work.
Yeah, it was entertaining. The amount of blood was overkill here, especially with Anarchy in the arena coming up later in the show. Although we did get the visual later of Briscoe coming back out with the dried blood all over him, but yeah, he went a little overboard on the blood there. But it was entertaining, and this was a much needed win for Ricochet, because coming into this he was 0 for 6 in pay-per-view matches, so he was due for a win, and he got his win. Yeah, and he got his head cleaned. Right, he got a nice head cleaning with the cleaning supplies and everything. So that was a fun spot. Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with him going into All In? I know Kevin Knight should hopefully be back here in the States. That could be a match, nice showcase match for both guys at All In. We'll see what happens with Ricochet. I've been saying, let's if Adam Cole needs some opponents for that TNT title, man, let's run that old NXT feud back a few years ago with Adam Cole and Ricochet for the TNT title.
No, that TNT title needs to find its way around the waist of Kyle Fletcher at Texas.
Okay, I could see that too.
Yeah, that should be the match.
All right, we'll see what happens there. But Ricochet, hopefully he gets something substantial going into Texas. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin with MVP and MJF against the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. This was for the AEW Tag Team titles, not the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. Again,
can I ask you a question?
Of course.
I ask this question periodically. I still have yet to get a good answer from anybody after all this time. How is it that we get to see, because he was on the pre-show, how is it that we get to see the Ring of Honor World Champion Bandito on these shows, and we get to see the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions Dustin and Sammy on these shows, but we never see the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion on these shows, except for that one match in the Owen?
I don't know, man. I'm usually a man of many words. I'm stumped on that one. I don't know.
I mean, is there a reason why other Ring of Honor champions are featured semi-regularly on AEW television, but that one champion is not?
I don't know. What is her contract status looking like? I heard from somebody today that she's a free agent coming up at the end of the year.
I hope so.
Me too.
I really do.
I don't think she'd end up resigning. I'll tell you that.
I don't think so either. Maybe that's why Tony's going to keep her off TV now. I don't know. This is the first I'm hearing of her contract status, but if that's true, then
I don't know. I seen it floating around on X today. I didn't talk to anybody specifically, but who knows if that's true? And I hope it is, but
yeah,
it's just weird. I don't know. I mean, I could see Dustin being featured in Texas, though, being that he is a Rhodes and he is from Texas, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe him and Sammy split. Who the fuck knows? But this match, again, okay for what it was. MJF, the whole story here is MJF and him wanting to fit into the Hurt Syndicate. I'll ask you this first, Jason, because me and Jesse felt very let down by the initiation of MJF being welcomed into the group. I don't know how you felt about the contract signing with MJF and the Hurt Syndicate on Wednesday. I just found it a little weird that MJF and Mark Sterling had their own contract and that MJF had the Hurt Syndicate sign his contract. Meanwhile, there was no contract that was kind of joint in the both parties that they both universally signed together. It was almost like, it almost came off like MJF was signing the Hurt Syndicate into his group and not the other way around.
I wasn't a fan of how the segment ended. It ended very flat. Like I was waiting for something to happen there, for be some kind of payoff or big next step in this.
Yeah, it ended with the Sons of Texas.
Yeah, so Dustin and Sammy come out, and Dustin cuts this promo where it actually sounded like he kind of forgot what he wanted to say, and he was kind of meandering there for a little bit, and then the segment just ended. And I'm like, wait, that's it?
Yeah.
They hyped this contract signing up all week, and nothing happened.
I don't know. I guess MJF wanted to just show off his fancy suit on Friday or on Wednesday, rather. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about the match. I also don't really understand. So he's out there and he tries to get involved, and he's like, "Here, use the ring." Right?
Yeah.
And Bobby stops Shelton and says, "No, you're not doing that." And then they end up outside the ring, and MJF is going to hit Dustin. Bobby stops him and looks like he's going to just haul off and just deck this guy. And then he smiles. And he turns around and he spears Dustin through the barricade, and then he hugs MJF. So what was the point of that swerve, of him acting angry at MJF? Like, what was the point of that, other than just to swerve the people watching at home? Like, oh, you thought they were going to beat each other up, but they're not. Like, I don't know. It just felt like a swerve for the sake of doing one.
Yeah, I brought up the idea of potentially Bobby asking for the Dynamite Diamond Ring as like collateral for him being in the group. I don't know. Do you see the Dynamite Diamond Ring being important to MJF coming into play and then Bobby asking for that?
I don't think Bobby gives a shit.
Well, if MJF is going to be a nuisance with the ring and try to help them to win,
but he's already a member, though, right? He's already in. If he wanted the ring, he would have requested it for that contract signing, that it be put in the contract.
I guess. I don't know.
I feel like we're beyond that now, I feel like.
Well, what's the one thing that you see happening where, because I think you and I both are on the same page where we feel like it's going to be Bobby Lashley versus MJF at All In. That's the way it feels. It may not end up being that way. I don't know. If it ends up going that direction, how do you see the tension building to a point where we get MJF and Bobby Lashley in the ring?
Oh, I think it could just be a case where MJF cost them the titles before then. You know, even just accidentally, you know.
To FTR?
I would think so.
Okay.
I mean, who else would it be to?
The Crew.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, the Crew.
The Crew. Yeah. The Crew. Okay.
I'm joking. FTR, yes, that definitely.
Legitimately, like what other team, like realistically, would they drop those belts to?
I couldn't even tell. I can't even tell you any other team in the division, to be honest with you.
I mean, they have like in the Callis family, but I mean FTR heels too. But I guess maybe it could be Josh Alexander and Takeshita, maybe.
Could be. Hey, listen, if Buddy Matthews didn't get hurt in Australia, I would have said the Hounds of Hell or whatever their names is, Brody King and Buddy Matthews.
Is he due to be back soon?
Hopefully. I don't know. I don't know how bad the injury was.
I mean, it looked pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't know. That'd
the be a good option, though.
Yeah.
If they can get him back relatively soon, that'd be a good option.
Yeah, that's a team that could definitely stand up to both. I mean, they're both even teams too, with the size of Lashley and Brody King.
And they're baby faces. The fans like them.
Yeah, and they could certainly use some wins. I don't know. I mean, MJF here. It was all about MJF and him wanting to fit in, and like Jason said, you know, the whole bizarre thing where Bobby Lashley didn't want him to use the ring, and that happened on multiple occasions, and then he ended up embracing him and hugging him, and they acted like best friends. I don't know what's going on here, but I will say this, minus the kind of questionable things that they've done here and there, and then the segment on Wednesday that really felt like it just went nowhere and there was no conclusion, and the Sons of Texas came out. I do think that this is still the best thing on AEW television for a nice string of weeks. I'd much rather see this than anything Death Riders. So if they can continue giving MJF some material to where he does some nice sports entertainment skits and he's funny and he's humorous, and then all of a sudden we just get that MJF that we all come to know and love, and he just becomes a bastard again, and we get that heel MJF moving forward into the late summer, fall months, I think that's the right direction to go. But they are long playing it. They want to drag this out a little bit because I feel like AEW storylines, Jason, they tend to just either die very quickly or they just forget about them and they never go back to them. Usually they happen like 2, 3, 4 weeks. This is going on for a couple of months now, so they're kind of dragging this out, stretching this out a little bit, which I do appreciate.
And I still feel like the Hurt Syndicate will get another certain someone joining the ranks. Yeah. I feel like it's only a matter of when, not if. And so how might that play a role in the MJF story? If they bring somebody else in, are they bringing them in to replace MJF and lay a beat down on MJF? Or does MJF get the drop on them first, such as costing them the tag team titles? I'm intrigued to see where it goes. So there is that's one of the good things about this story. And the Hurt Syndicate, I mean, the Hurt Syndicate is as over as any act that they have in that entire company. Whether they're supposed to be heels or not, people love singing the song. These guys look like a couple of badasses. They manhandle pretty much anybody they're in the ring with. They just have that cool factor about them. So I don't blame Tony for wanting to feature them more often. And if he wants to drag this story out and has some entertaining ideas for, skits or whatever in ring segments, then that's fine. Because it is one of the more entertaining parts of the weekly television show.
Yeah. They are still the tag team champions. The Hurt Syndicate beat the Sons of Texas. I mentioned one of the Achilles heels here for AEW, one of their biggest problems, not just on pay-per-view, but in general, and it's bleeding onto Dynamite the next 2 weeks with this fucking international championship tournament that they got, which we all know Kenny Omega is not going to lose. It's like, can you just give us the match already and just spare all the nonsense to get there? This is very predictable. Everything we talked about has been uber predictable. Mercedes beating Jamie Hayter has been predictable, though some say that they could have went another way and Athena showed up. I didn't factor that into anything.
Well, you know what? Let me stop you.
Yeah,
because I was thinking about this. Now I still feel like yes, they're going to want to do champion against champion. I would love for them to merge the two titles, unify them, have one singular international champion. We don't need a continental title.
Yeah, right? I wholeheartly agree.
Yeah, so I mean that's we've established that.
Yeah.
But the winners of the matches in these or in this tournament, it all goes to a 4-way next week, which means Kenny Omega does not have to be pinned to lose his title. Is there not a chance that they might want to take the title off Kenny without beating him and have him and Okada just be for the Continental Championship, with Omega handing Okada his first, I guess it wouldn't be his first, but like his first major loss, without having to worry about champion against champion, because we already have champion against champion with Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné. So is there, in your mind, not a chance that maybe they would take the title off Kenny in that 4-way, and that's why it's a 4-way and not a singles match?
That's a good rational way of thinking about it, but do I think Kenny's losing the championship before we get to Texas? No.
If Okada even gets involved and costs him?
I don't think so. I think honestly, the right way to go about it is to unify the titles and just have one championship, and the international championship stays and the continental title goes away. It's useless.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. But I'm just presenting an idea because you say it's a foregone conclusion. I don't know. I mean, do you have the matches in front of you as far as who's in this tournament?
I do. Let's see.
Brody, right? Brody King is in
Brody is in one. Where are they? I thought I had them here. Brody's in one. Let's see. AEW Dynamite International Title Tournament. Let's see.
Because we know Hechicero and Mascara Dorada. I think that's one match.
Yeah, Fighter Fest.
Yeah, and then Brody King, I know, is it against Claudio, maybe?
Claudio is in it, yeah. Dorada's in it. Hechicero, they will compete one-on-one. Commander and Claudio. And then Josh Alexander and Brody King will have a rematch from Collision a couple of weeks ago. Those are the three matches.
Josh Alexander winning the international title to bring gold into the Callis family?
He's probably the only name that I could see winning this tournament, yeah. Again,
especially with Kenny being a babyface, I would think if anybody's going to win, it would be a heel.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just saying it may not be a foregone conclusion if they don't want to do a title unification. Then I could see something like that happening.
It is certainly a discussion for sure.
Yeah, because we're talking about how they should merge the titles, but that doesn't mean Tony Khan is going to want to merge the titles.
Well, apparently, according to the Sickos, he listens to the fan base, which, he changed Mina's theme music within minutes of them debuting a new theme music, but he hasn't listened to anything else, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I think that is a possibility. I'm sticking with my guns here. I think a unification match is on the horizon. But what I was getting to earlier was a lot of what AEW does is very predictable, which got into the discussion of that possibly not being so predictable. This show was very predictable. Everybody had Mercedes penned to win. Ricochet, I think it's pretty much everybody had him to win. He needed a win. Jason said he was 0-6 coming into this. He needed a win. The Hurt Syndicate, very predictable to win over Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. And this one, Okada versus Speedball. I don't think anybody predicted Speedball, Mike Bailey, to beat Okada for the Continental Championship. And I do think a certain aspect of you caring about the match even though there is no story, if it wasn't so predictable, it would be a little bit better off as far as you enjoying what you're watching. I can't, and this is just, again, me speaking from personal experience. Going into this, I thought this was one of the best matches of the entire night. I thought this was the best Okada match in AEW so far, to be quite honest with you. I thought this was great stuff. But it being predictable and there's no conflict there between the two, it's like, why would Okada lose the championship so close to All In? A lot of what I feel about the match is taken away because of how predictable it is. How did you feel about this, Jason? I know Okada, a lot of people have stated, and you're more up on Okada New Japan version than I am, so you probably have a lot more knowledge speaking on the situation. But I've seen his matches with Kenny. I've seen all of them. I know what he was to New Japan. I know he was, their greatest champion maybe ever. But we haven't seen that version of Okada here in AEW. I think this is the first opportunity fans really got to see Okada be that New Japan Okada against Speedball at Double or Nothing.
I mean, we've seen flashes of it before. I think in the Continental Classic we did, and against Bryan Danielson we did. But yeah, I mean, the first half of this match was sort of AEW Okada, and then the second half of the match was a lot closer to New Japan Okada when he really kind of kicks it into that next gear. A lot of matches they stays in like one gear, but in the second half of that match, it was like, okay, this is the version of Okada that like I have been waiting to see, and we don't get to see him very often. So it turned into a hell of a match. I love that before the Rainmaker, that finishing spot where Bailey came off the top. It might have been for Ultimate Weapon. And Okada caught him with that drop kick on the way down. And the place went nuts. And then he hit him with the one Rainmaker and he beat him. So that was a great finishing sequence. It's one of those things where not every single match on the show, and I understand this, not every single match on the show is going to have some rich story going into it. There will be times where you have a champion, they want to have a title defense on the show, and the week before the show, maybe somebody becomes number one contender, they throw a title match on the show. These two have been interacting a little bit over the last few weeks. It's paper thin. There really wasn't a story there between them. So yeah, it would have been nice, but there is no story for Okada until we get to Omega and Texas. Like, what story are you expecting here? They're not going to first start some long-term program with Okada when we're 2 months away from what is going to be, honestly, the entire reason that Tony Khan brought this man into AEW in the first place was to build to this one match above and beyond anything else. So it didn't bother me as much maybe as it bothered you. I'm happy we got to see the Okada of old there towards the end. This was another match that did not need to be on the show. All of that being said, this did not need to be on the show. I would argue the tag team title match didn't need to be on this show. There were 3 or 4 matches that you could have easily shaved off of this card and saved for television, and it would have improved the format and flow of the show. This was one of those matches.
I agree. Okada wins. Great match. And Okada waits if Kenny wins this Fyter Fest Invitational for the International Championship. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next 2 weeks on Dynamite. But excellent match, and I agree. I would have saved it for a nice main event on Dynamite, giving them a little bit to build something there instead of, I believe, Speedball chasing Okada out of the building one day where it was the Ops and the Death Riders wrestling. It's like...
But dude, like, save it for Fyter Fest.
Yeah. Yeah,
you got back-to-back Dynamite and Collision. Save it as a major match on, even to open Collision that night or something.
Yeah, something. But yes, Okada wins. Great match with Speedball. Timeless Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Mina is now full-time in AEW. She got the All Elite graphic and everything. This was for the AEW Women's Championship. Again, uber predictable. Mina wins a fatal 4-way to get this match here against Tony at Double or Nothing. I was really not surprised, but I was actually very pleased to see Mina wrestle such a good match with Tony Storm. I know Mina's kind of been, very comedic, and she's lighthearted and bubbly, and you don't really take her to be serious because we haven't seen that side of Mina here in America on AEW, but overseas, a lot more people are prone to seeing her a little bit more violent. What?
We haven't seen that side of Mina. Did you forget the confrontation with her and Mariah May when they split?
Where did it go, though?
We saw a more serious side of Mina, did we not? I mean, they went flying off the fucking stage.
We did, I guess.
Beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. It didn't really result in anything, though.
Yeah, but that's not what you're talking about. You're just saying like we've seen the bubbly, lighter side, the nicer side of Mina Shirakawa, which is true because she dances and she likes to drink some of the bubbly. True. She's had a few matches though in AEW where she's been able to show off what she can do. Like this wasn't the first time, but she went out there and had a match with Toni Storm that was very good. I have no idea why they felt the need to rush her into this match. It boggles my mind why it had to be her. Why in her very first match back, they made her number one contender for the women's world title, because there was only one way for her to go, and that's down, which is where she's going to go now. So congrats. You fed another win to Toni Storm, but why did it have to be Mina?
I don't know. She'll be on the buy-in next month. I don't know. Or maybe where's she at Ring of Honor? A lot of people were hoping for Mariah May to return here. I did not really give a lot to those rumors. I don't think Mariah May is coming back at all. Did you notice in the pre-match vignettes where they did show clips of Toni and Mina that they did show Mariah, but they only showed Mariah from like the chest down? They didn't show her face?
No, I didn't notice.
Yeah, they didn't show Mariah's face. They didn't mention anything about Mariah on commentary about how Mina is her friend and Mariah and Toni, and how Toni got here with the championship.
Well, maybe they're saving it. They don't want to mention her because it'll be a bigger surprise when she shows up. Dude, Darby Allin climbed to the top of Mount Everest. They said nothing about it on TV.
Yeah, I guess.
He unfurled an AEW flag on top of the tallest mountain in the world and never said a word about it on television because they want him to be out of sight, out of mind for when he makes his grand return.
Hey, listen, maybe Mariah shows up in Texas and she screws over Toni Storm. Who knows?
Who's to say that there's not negotiations going on? I mean, supposedly her deal isn't up until, I think, November, sometime later in the year.
Yeah.
So, even if she's on the outs with them, that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't having conversations, or Toni might not want to make some kind of other offer to her. So I think she's gone too, but I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion that she's definitely gone and they can't, retain her services.
No, there's a chance. There's a chance she stays.
There's a chance, but
everybody thought she was going to show up here. That's the problem.
Not everybody. Some people did.
Yeah.
Some people thought there was a chance. And look, I mean, Mina's her, one of her best friends, and so, is that going to sway her decision? I don't think so. I think she's got her mind made up. Whatever it is that she's going to do, I think her mind is pretty much made up. Wherever she lands, whether she stays, whether she goes somewhere else, she's going to be a huge star. She goes to WWE, she's going to be a massive star.
Yeah.
Whatever brand she ends up on. But yeah, I mean, again, good match, but very predictable, like you said, because everyone is just sort of locked in right now, and everyone has an eye towards that big Arlington show. And they put the graphic up already earlier in the night.
They had that shit ready to go.
It was on just standby as soon as the fucking Owen match was over.
That fucking graphic was made 2 months ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so it's like, all right, that graphic isn't going to change. Like, we got to put Mina in the graphic now. Like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So, but yeah, it was good. It was a good match.
Yeah, this was fine. Toni retains the championship over Mina. Very good match between both ladies, but again, uber predictable. And nobody expected Toni to lose going into Texas. The Anarchy in the Arena match, the reason for Double or Nothing, it's the signature match for this show. And, I have discussed, I'm sure Jason has discussed this as well, with these gimmick matches, they tend to lose their flavor the more you do them. We've discussed Anarchy in the Arena in the same vein as War Games and Hell in a Cell. And, you're starting to feel that gimmick match fatigue because now you anticipate it's Double or Nothing. We got Anarchy in the Arena and everybody's expecting it because it's Double or Nothing. But even though there may be some fatigue and a more difficult time year over year to keep the match unique and come up with different scenarios and just keep the match fresh with different things that happen, a lot of that is going to lay at the feet of AEW Creative and how good they are to keep the match fresh. This year, Jason, I don't want to say it was the best Anarchy in the Arena. I'll start here. I don't want to say it was the best. I'd probably go with either 22 or 23, but I thoroughly enjoyed the 25, 30 minutes that this was. 35 minutes, I think you said. I think this went long, over 30 minutes. I enjoyed this from top to bottom. I thought it was fun as shit. And it really felt like for the first time in almost 2.5 years since Punk was there and Cody was there that AEW finally felt cool again. And when bodies hit the floor, Drowning Pool played, I sat back and I said, you know what? There's no reason and no way anybody could watch this, even if you hate it, and fucking say this shit sucks or you don't like it. I thought that was super fucking cool. And kudos to AEW because it was the first time I genuinely felt that feeling that everybody talks about in that moment when Kenny said, play that shit. I marked out. I popped for that. I know a lot of people did too. How'd you feel about that?
I thought it was great. I mean, that was the highlight of the entire match, honestly, was when they hit that music and everybody just exploded. Actually, as soon as they hit the music and it really kicked in, Swerve did that dive out of the ring, the Fosbury flop out of the ring, and they were off to the races. We got the split screen of like 4 different sections of the arena where there was all kinds of chaos, and then you heard Drowning Pool in the background. You're skipping the part, of course, where
I know. I was going to get to it.
They initially were playing some Revolutionary War sounding shit,
which I tried to buy into and tried to enjoy because I guess it kind of fit the vibe, but not really.
No, it didn't. You play that song in the background. Why don't you just have somebody fucking sing the Pledge of Allegiance in the background during Anarchy?
The Revolutionary War, the Civil War, man. I mean, those are pretty Anarchy, feeling type of scenarios, I would say. No.
This pay-per-view almost lasted as long as the Civil War did. But so they played that music for a while, and then they cut it off, and then they played "Let's Get Excited" or "I'm So Excited" by the Pointer Sisters, and I thought Tony is gonna get his money's worth for that music because he got bullied out of using it for Dynamite because everybody made fun of him for it and said this shit sucks. This shouldn't be the song for Dynamite. He used it 1 week, which I think was the very first Dynamite of the entire year, and we never heard it again. And he's had that on standby. He's like, I'm going to get my fucking money's worth. And we're going to play that music. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Some people shit on it. Like, I like the song. Doesn't really fit Anarchy in the Arena, but okay. And then they cut it off and then they played that. Now, I can't hear that. I don't know about you. I can't hear that song and not think of the Invasion. And like Stephanie coming out with the ECW beret on her head.
Yes.
Like I associate that song with that period of time.
Yes, me too.
But it's a great, it was perfect for this kind of match.
Now, so they're going back to the Pointer Sisters thing. I mean, I groaned when I heard it on Dynamite. I didn't groan when I heard it on Sunday night because I knew they did it as a troll, and then they went into Drowning Pool. I'm like, I could accept that. It was acceptable there.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Pointer Sisters was fine.
Yeah.
Because they weren't going to play for the whole match. But what I laughed at is they play Drowning Pool, and it's great, and everyone's going crazy, and there's fighting everywhere, and like this is what Anarchy in the Arena is supposed to be. Dude, they looped that shit like 4 or 5 times.
It was bad. Yeah.
To the point where Taz on commentary was all but like begging them, please just stop, please. And then how did it stop? Somebody got thrown through a speaker next to the stage and the music just stopped.
That was cool. I like that.
Yeah, that was it. And from that point on, we had no music. But I thought that was great. I do think this was the best Anarchy in the Arena that they've done. I was going back and forth between that and 22, where zombie Eddie Kingston came out with the gas can.
Yeah.
When they were wrestling, I think that was the against the Jericho Appreciation Society. So that one is still pretty high up there. But for me, I think this was my favorite one of all the ones they've done. I think that they should have shaved 5 or 10 minutes off of it. I do think we got to a point in the match where it's like, wrap this up. Like It feels like it's going too long and being a little self-indulgent. So that's the only real critique I would have had about it, is that it went long. I would have shaved a few minutes off, but I thought it was great. It got, this great reaction from the crowd because it looked like they were all having fun, which is the whole point. And it really differentiates them from everybody else. This is the sort of thing like you would see in early AEW, where you would watch it and it's like, WWE ain't doing this shit.
Yeah.
Right? I can't even envision them doing a match like this. And that gave AEW a leg up because they were doing stuff truly that you just would not see on the other show. And so that's the kind of the vibe that this match had. Like that's what this match is all about. You'll never see something like that in WWE. That's just not what they do. With the music and everything else and the chaos all over the building for 30 minutes, it's just not what they do. And then you had the Death Riders get locked in the ambulance, and the Bucks got their comeuppance from Swerve. And I'm thinking, well, this is kind of strange. You know, Swerve beats the Bucks. If the idea was to do Swerve and Hangman against the Bucks, they kind of gave the finish away here. Little did we know, of course, you know, what would happen in the main event. And that's not the direction they're going in. But when it was over and the baby faces stood tall and they're all kind of celebrating and everything, it was great. It was a great moment. I don't understand the staple to the tongue. I have no fucking idea why.
Swerve is a insane human being, bro.
Dude, like, why? Why would you do that?
And he willingly and happily showed it off in front of the camera.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He sticks his tongue. Oh, take a look. And I'm just like, I don't even want to know how they're going to remove that.
That's oh, God.
I don't even want to think about that.
No.
So that to me reminded me of the hypodermic needle thing where it was just unnecessary. It was like shock value for the sake of shock value. And he's a sick fuck and he enjoyed it. But I was just like, dude, come on. Really?
Yeah. Getting back to the music part, you know, Tony wants to license music, has no problem at all licensing music. I don't know why at least 3-4 songs instead of playing the same song 4 times in a row. Why he doesn't license 3 or 4 good old school fucking late 90s, early 2000s alternative hard rock just to get the crowd going. I'm thinking of songs. I'm listening to Drowning Pool play. I'm thinking of songs that Tony could play. You know, I'm thinking System of a Down, Sugar. I'm thinking Godsmack. I'm thinking Push It by Static X. I'm thinking Korn, Freak on a Leash or something like that, you know, to get fans going. I don't know, man. Like,
how much money do you think he has? You're going to pay for like 5 songs?
Whatever. 4 songs is fine. Like a nice soundtrack instead of playing the same song over and over again. But
yeah, no, I mean,
maybe I'm being picky there, but I love that type of shit. I enjoyed it.
No, it was great. But to the point I was making about how this is one of the ways that AEW can differentiate itself from what everybody else, WWE and everybody else, is doing. And the music is another part of that. The WWE has, you know, they have more money now than they've had, you know, ever in the history of the company. So if they wanted to pay for music, they can do that, right? But they just choose not to.
Yeah.
Tony Khan will go out and he'll spend money to, you know, get these real songs. And in this case, it was a great use of it because it played so much through this match, but it just added a whole new vibe to the match. That's also something that differentiates them from everybody else, is that Tony is willing to put down money to buy these real songs. And it really does. It makes things more fun. It makes them feel like a bigger deal, like when Danielson would come out to Final Countdown. So it's that sort of thing that they need to do more of, you know, to really differentiate themselves from everybody else, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could differentiate yourself in ways that aren't so fun. Like you just throw match after match after match out there. But like this was fun. Yeah. And that's what Anarchy in the Arena should be. It should be entertaining. It should be fun. Not overstay its welcome, which this one kind of did. But it was a very, very fun match. And everybody involved in that, including the women, because we had women in there for the first time. You know, Willow and Marina Shafir were out there. Everybody played their part great. We had Gabe Kidd come out, and then we had, you know, Hook made a very brief cameo, kind of lost at all this. Hook, his return. And even though he helped the baby faces, he didn't look very happy with the ops. So that's going to be a story now coming out of this show. But this was great. I love this match.
Yeah, getting back to a couple of highlights here. Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, I don't know if this is going to be their new name going forward, but it would make all the sense in the world for them to adopt a new name. They will forever be the Young Bucks, but they came out on Sunday as the Founding Fathers. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing going forward for them. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Jason mentioned the ladies. I thought Marina and Willow looked fucking great in this match. I thought they were, especially Willow, I thought that was a star-making performance for her. She did mix it up a lot with Marina, and they did a very good job of secluding them to just those two. But Willow also got involved with the men as well, and they didn't really go too far with it. She did eat a cutter from Moxley. She got a spear on a couple of guys as well. So I thought their inclusion here really made sense, and they played it off very well. My MVP of the match, Jason, I don't know how you felt about this. Outside of Willow, I thought Will Hobbs looked the best he's ever looked here. I thought he had a great match. They had some great spots with him, kind of no-selling some chair shots, just looking like a beast, just taking a good brunt of punishment and being a badass. And then the Death Riders. This is the first time the Death Riders, in my opinion, have felt like a threat on AEW television. It goes with their vibe, this type of match. And this is the first time I really felt like they were a threat to AEW. This is the first time I feel like Anarchy in the arena, especially just going back to last year, I felt like it was more necessary this year than it was last year. I think last year could have been axed. This year it felt more appropriate because the Death Riders have been on TV and such a big focus on TV. But they look great, man. I thought this was a huge success for them.
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting the whole Death Riders felt like a threat. I wasn't feeling that, but I wouldn't go that far. But it was, again, everybody played their part well. You had the Bucks forging this alliance with them. And, look, they went out there. They told the story. They told the baby faces won. Now we wait for the big crowning moment, whenever that may come, where they get that title off of Jon Moxley, because nothing else matters really until he drops that championship.
We got some news in the chat. Apparently, there's two things here that the chat's talking about. Stephanie Vaquer to Monday Night Raw. I don't know in what manner, but people are talking about that. JC Jane is the new NXT Women's Champion, is what people are saying.
JC Jane?
How do we go from Stephanie to Jordan Grace and then JC Jane the following week, man?
1/3 of Fatal Influence has unseated Stephanie Vaquer as the NXT Women's Champion.
Why? How? And what does he do? Is Shawn Michaels on? What is Shawn Michaels drinking down there, man? What's going on? What's in the water down in Orlando? Holy shit!
So does Jordan beat JC, or is Jordan and Stephanie getting called up?
I don't know. That's
JC Jane.
Yes, JC Jane. Yes. Meanwhile,
yeah, I just noticed our boy Zeno Zero.
Yes. Zeno Zero with a $100 super chat. Nothing important to say. Just wanted to interrupt. Laughing emoji. OTS for life. Zeno, thank you very much for stopping by with your overwhelming generosity. We appreciate you here on Tuesday nights. Thank you for the $100 bomb.
JC Jane?
Yes, bro. Yeah, JC Jane. Yes, I don't get it. I don't get what people see in JC Jane either, man. I don't know what's going on there, but oh man, apparently that's the news. Man, they really want to turn people away from NXT, huh? I don't know.
I think they're just looking for some shock value here and get people talking. That's what they're trying to do.
I guess so. Moving on here with the rest of this Double or Nothing card. Paragon and the Don Callis family, and the Don Callis family wins here. Nothing else to be said. And then the main event, 11:47 p.m. The bell rung. Will Ospreay and Adam Hangman Page, finals of the men's Owen Hart tournament. There is news on this before we get into the actual match. It's coming from Fightful. Details behind the Double or Nothing main event. Fightful Select has reported throughout the last number of weeks that AEW and Tony Khan had kept the result of the match solidly under wraps. This includes performers themselves not knowing. Now, while it's been reported that they found out the day of the show, it was indicated to Fightful by those in the know that it was actually earlier in the weekend that Hangman and Will Ospreay found out. An interesting element of the story was that Adam Page actually pushed for Will Ospreay to win, while Will Ospreay pushed for Hangman to win the match. Those that we spoke to said that Tony Khan was even non-committal throughout the process when talent would ask him who won. The feeling backstage was that of shock, as most everyone believed Will Ospreay would end up winning the match. The match did get increasingly physical, says Sapp, but we're told nothing out of the ordinary, and both men appeared to be fine and healthy after the match. We also heard in the past week that Jon Moxley leaned towards wanting Hangman to win the match as well, which I'm sure had a lot to do with the decision. Whether or not that had any bearing on the actual match, says Fightful, we don't know. Now, Jason, I put something on social media when I seen Sapp report this. You know, I don't know how other people interpret this, but I interpret it in this way. And I love Hangman and I love Will Ospreay, and I made that very well known across all my coverage of Dynamite on my channel. And I'm glad Hangman won. And if Ospreay won, I would not have minded either. You can't go wrong with either guy. But the way that I read that is, why doesn't either guy want, and I mean genuinely want, to take the ball and run with it? No, have Will Ospreay win. No, have Adam Page win it. I mean, I think back to like the days in the early 90s with Brett and Shawn and Rock and Austin and guys like that, Triple H. Would any of those guys tell Vince, no, I think he should win it? It's like, it almost sounds like you don't want the ball and you don't want the ball to run with it, and you're not confident in leading the company. It's what I interpret it as. I don't know how you take that. Or am I wrong?
We know what Triple H would do in this situation. I don't think Triple H would be so nice.
Yes.
I mean, look, I guess it's sort of a mutual, if this is what happened. I mean, I'm sure it's like a mutual respect type of thing. Look, it goes back, think back to last year and Forbidden Door. We got the match between Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. I was shocked they were going with that match that quickly, because I thought that could be, like the Wembley match, until Tony Khan decided he wanted to tell the Daniel Bryan story. Yeah. But the reports at the time were that, Ospreay was upset that there were a lot of people saying Swerve's not worthy, he's not a real world champion, and saying all these things. And so his goal was, give me Swerve, I'll give him the best match he's had yet since being champion, and put him over, which is what he did. That was the report at the time.
Yeah, so, he also said he didn't want to be a transitional champion. Right. He didn't want Swerve to be a transitional champion, yeah.
But it was about Swerve, right? It was being selfless and saying, this isn't about me, it's about trying to help him. Yeah. And I think there's something noble in that, just because, wrestling is and will always be a cutthroat industry, and you have to be a little selfish if you want to get ahead. I think to some degree, right, you've got to want it, but I also think there's something kind of nice about the idea that they all work for the same company, and they're all in a great spot. Hangman's a main event guy there. Will Ospreay's a main event guy there. They know that. And they're kind of looking out for each other. It's like, what is best for the show? So maybe they genuinely think, you know what, this would be best for the story, or this would be best for the show. And they're not just thinking about themselves. They're kind of looking at the bigger picture. It is a little odd, because you normally hear the exact opposite of that when it comes to wrestling. But I don't know. I kind of think it's kind of nice in a way that you don't have that level of, me, and people stepping on each other's necks just to get ahead. Some people do that, I'm sure. Some people would do that work in that company, but that's natural. It doesn't bother me or strike me as being, a bad thing. So I don't know. I just look at it as it's a team effort, and they're just kind of looking out for each other and looking at the bigger picture here.
Some people were making fun of this story coming out, saying that neither one of them wanted to lose to Jon Moxley at All In. That's why
that could very well be it. Maybe there's something else going on here where they look at it and go, shit, they're going to put this belt on Darby. I don't want to be the one to go in there and lose. Let him go in there and lose.
Yeah, which, people are still talking about that. That's still a possibility, but that's the news there coming out of this match. Going into this match, it was the only match that I genuinely cared about on this show. At 11:47, we talked about it at the top. My energy level should have been a lot higher for this match than it was, just because the match went on so late and the show didn't go off the air till 12:30, legitimately. Minus all those criticisms and all those negatives, I thought what they produced was a very good match. Is it the best AEW match I've seen all year? No. But I do think that it was a proper main event for this show, and both guys brought it. One positive I want to start off here with, Jason, is I know I give personally Tony Khan a lot of shit about the creative aspect of the show. This has been the best booked Owen tournament that he's had since he started it. And easily. A lot of it has been upped because of the situation with the winner getting a championship match at All In. What he did to transform the tournament as just being an homage to Owen and the Hart family and the Owen Foundation, the trophy and the belt, and it's just going to be that. It was great just to honor Owen every single year, which should be done on a normal year. But in this case, now it goes to play into the biggest show of the year. And with that now at the end of the tunnel here, the prize for the winner, I mean, it gives me vibes of why we, as, early WWF fans, when we got the importance of the King of the Ring, it almost reminds me of, the older King of the Ring tournaments where you'd automatically become the number one contender for a world championship, or you get a championship match at SummerSlam. I love that they make their television show so important, with that being the goal at the end of the tunnel here. And Tony booked a almost flawless tournament. Those first quarterfinal matches were a little predictable, but when we got into the finals, especially this match, the unpredictability of it and the excitement of it was truly great. And I do think that he's onto something. And this may be their best tournament all year. And I would even put this above the Continental Classic.
Well, what helps is the fact that you actually main evented the pay-per-view with the finals of the Owen, even over Anarchy in the Arena. He's like, we're gonna close the show with the Owen, which is the first time they've done that. So that automatically just makes it feel like a super big deal. I also think, I didn't really realize it until just now, was this the first year that they've done the Owen where Martha wasn't there?
Was she there in the beginning of the tournament? I don't think she was.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think she was on the show. I don't remember.
Well,
her,
we may see her all in. Maybe.
Why?
I mean, for the championship unveiling, I guess. No, I don't know.
Tournament's over.
I don't know why we didn't see her then. I don't know. She may be all in anyway. I don't fucking know.
She just show up 2 months after the tournament is over.
I don't know.
Maybe she was busy.
Yeah.
It just hit me because usually she's there, right? She's on stage and presenting the trophy or the title belt. But I don't remember seeing her this time. Tony Khan comes out wearing a funny hat. Usually we get all the festivities. So this was the best Owen tournament that they've done. We got a ton of great matches out of it, but it was the significance of it. And it goes back to the go-home promo on Dynamite last week with Hangman and Ospreay, which I think was one of the best television promo segments of the entire year, if not the best.
Oh, but Will Ospreay can't cut a promo, says some of the fans.
Oh, yeah, of course. He's not a promo guy, right? That's how you know people don't watch the show.
Yeah, I know.
They went out there, though, and they articulated why this match was so important, why they have to win. I haven't had a lot of luck with Jon Moxley, is what Ospreay said, but you've beaten him before, right? Because he has, right? Hangman's had more luck with Moxley than Ospreay has, I think. But the comment that he made was, if I can beat you, then I know I can beat him. Hangman says, I've wasted the last 2 years of my career. I've been consumed by hatred and grief. I haven't won anything. I haven't won any tournaments. I haven't won any championships. He was in the finals of the last Owen, right? And he lost. And he's talking about how much this means to him. I have to be able to look my kid in the eye again. I have to be the man that my wife fell in love with all those years ago. I can't keep doing this anymore. I need this. It was great. And you believed it because they brought it down to a personal level. And they made this Owen Hart final feel like the most important fucking match in the entire world. They made it feel more important than any Jon Moxley title match that we've seen in the last several months. So, great job on it. I hope it continues well into next year and the year after that and the year after that. Because this is what this tournament should be about. It shouldn't just be throwaway. It shouldn't just be, let's fill half the brackets with Action Andretti and Jeff Jarrett and this person and that person. They did a better job, I think, putting bigger names in there this year. And the payoff we got at the end, this match was outstanding. Yeah, this match went even longer, believe it or not, than Anarchy in the Arena did. This match went 37 minutes, but and that was a very late 37 minutes. But man, those last few minutes there,
yeah, did
they go overboard on the near falls? Yes, but you know what? It works so well, and the camera work. I don't hear anybody talking about the camera work. There was a sequence near the end where they had this one static shot from ringside, just kind of looking up at these guys. And I think it was like Ospreay's in the background getting ready maybe to throw a hidden blade. And so the camera, it goes from the foreground to the background. And it's just like this one consistent shot, kind of like what we were getting with Raw and Netflix at the beginning of the year. And I just thought, man, this was great. Even the way they were shooting it was great. And they were just building and building and building. And then that last buckshot and the pinfall. And I was surprised because I had convinced myself. I thought from the very beginning that this was Ospreay's to lose. And then he lost. Then I was like, shit, I have no issue with Hangman winning. I think it's great. But I thought Ospreay was going to win.
Yeah, so me too.
When he pinned him, I was surprised. I was like, wow. okay, I didn't think that was going to be the finish. So it was the most unpredictable match on the entire show because it could legitimately have gone either way. So that's the other thing I loved about it. So it's a Will Ospreay match. Nobody should be surprised by this, but let's give Hangman his flowers as well. Those guys went in there and they fucking killed it. And let's hope that Hangman can kill this title reign in Texas.
Just to go back to the history between Page and Moxley, they did wrestle 3 singles matches in 2023 with Adam Page winning 2 of them. He beat Jon Moxley on Dynamite 171 at the Kia Forum. That was on January 11th. That went 15 minutes. He beat him. Moxley beat him back in February of 2023. That was at Dynamite 174. They went 17 minutes. Moxley gets the win there. And then they had the Texas Death Match at Revolution in 23 where Adam Page beat Jon Moxley. That was in San Francisco. That was on March 5th in 2023. So Adam Page does have some history with Jon Moxley, a lot of history actually, and he's got some solid wins over Jon Moxley. So everything that they said in that promo was validated here with this match. I wish I could feel confident, Jason, and I said this to Jesse on early Monday morning. I wish I could feel confident, and I'm glad we got Page because he was the one that my heart wanted most, even though I had convinced myself like you that Ospreay was going to go to All In and win the championship. I just find that we got the guy we wanted, and I just have this sneaking suspicion that Tony is going to wait for Darby to come back and Moxley is going to beat Page at All In Texas, even though the story writes itself, the Cowboy in Texas, and it's going to be a great moment, and we can end this misery that we've been on for the last 9 months. I just have this feeling that Tony is so dead set on Darby Allin that he's going to wait till October at Wrestle Dream and give Darby the win because the title really, the plans all involve Darby and how we go from Page beating Moxley to eventually getting Darby as the world champion, which, I mean, is a foregone conclusion at this point. He's obviously winning the championship at some point, whether it's this year or early next year. I just don't know how it's not going to be against anyone but Jon Moxley. I'm trying to convince myself that this is the right move with Page, but I just don't trust Tony enough to go and do what really needs to be done, and he's going to wait even longer, and I do think it's going to have a negative effect on television.
Yeah, I don't even know that it would be Wrestle Dream. You know, they're doing All Out in Toronto at the Scotiabank Arena, so if it was going to work out that way, it could be All Out. But I agree. I mean, if Hangman loses in Texas, it would be a huge mistake. So hopefully common sense prevails here. That needs to be the big crowning moment. They could have Darby come out and assist, you know, in helping Moxley lose the championship and still do Darby and Moxley coming out of it. The only thing that makes me worry is the history with Moxley and Darby. There was that one time where Moxley said, you'll never be champion. So do they want Darby winning the title from somebody else, or do they want him to be the one to take it from Moxley? Because Moxley was the one who said to him, you'll never be world champion. That's the only thing that worries me. I think it would be a huge mistake to have Hangman go in there and lose. After all this story arc, and from where he was to now, finally, he's like, okay, you know, the last 2 years of my career have been wasted, and I got to get back to the way things were. He wins this great tournament, and they have this big stadium show, and then he fucking loses. Like, what a misfire that would be.
Yeah, I can't bear to even think that's going to happen. But no. I hope, like Jason said, common sense prevails here, and we get Hangman winning the championship. Where we go with Ospreay going into All In, now that raises a big question because we all had him kind of going in and being the guy and waving the flag for AEW and being the world champion. What does Ospreay do going into All In now that he's not getting the championship match? Do we get... I don't know, because I had Page and Swerve pegged to wrestle the Young Bucks. Do we get Swerve and Ospreay wrestling the Young Bucks now? What else does Ospreay do?
What else do the Bucks do?
I don't know.
So I mean, they all kind of go together, but you'd have to bring Ospreay into things because Ospreay's had nothing to do with any of this. So how do you loop him in there? You don't want to just go back to Ospreay and Ricochet because we've already seen that. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Will Ospreay. He's got to be in a prominent match on that show. What that match would be, because you assume Omega Okada, that's pretty much set in stone. what other big names are we not accounting for who maybe you could program with Ospreay?
There's nobody that jumps off the page to me. He's wrestled everybody.
No, in terms of heels, right?
Yeah.
They've already done him and Fletcher to death, him and Takeshita, so there's really nobody in the Callis family. I don't know. I don't know what they do with him.
It almost feels like they were originally going to go with Ospreay and then made a last minute change to Hangman, and then it kind of messed up plans from what we had. I don't think they were planned, but we had anticipated that they were going to do these things.
No, but to be fair, it's not just us. Like, this is what we guessed. Like, they had backstage segments where, like, Swerve was not in the locker room when Hangman came in. It looked like he was going to apologize to him, and like it felt like they were planting storyline seeds for there to be something between them and actually have them come together. So you have good reason to feel that way, because based on the television, it kind of gave you that feeling that that's the direction they were heading in. So you may be onto something here. Maybe at one point, Ospreay was pegged to win this thing, and they, in the end, Tony made the decision to go with Hangman instead. And now, it's just less certain what they're going to do with Ospreay on that show. And he's one of their biggest names. And it just feels like there's no obvious opponent for him. Obviously, he'll have a prominent match, but sitting here right now, I can't tell you who that one person is who would make sense to put him in the ring with.
Who's this in the chat? Paid Enthusiast says Jay White, ? Listen, I love Jay White. Hopefully Jay White is back before All In, but I mean, does that interest anybody? Jay White versus Will Ospreay? Sure. What does it mean? It's got to mean something before we get there.
Well, Williams says MJF. We've already seen that before. Yeah. MJF has his own thing going on.
Yeah.
So MJF doesn't really work.
Then we got the whole O2 Arena and Forbidden Door coming up, and Ospreay's made a big deal about that. Does Hangman win the championship? Do we run Ospreay and Hangman back at London at Forbidden Door? I don't know.
And have Hangman beat him again in London?
I don't know. That's why I thought Ospreay was going to win, and he was going to walk in as world champion. That was my original thought. I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of very big question marks as it pertains to All In. But right now we got Moxley and Paige for the World Championship, and Mercedes versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. And we would assume that it's going to be Okada Omega. Those are the three big matches right now that we can confidently say will happen on July 12th. Everything else is a work in progress right now. We're assuming Copeland's going to be back and have something to do with FTR. MJF's going to be involved with the Hurt Syndicate. Outside that, I couldn't really tell you what else is brewing there for AEW. But I thought Double or Nothing, even though it had a weak build coming in, I thought it was absolutely a thumbs-up show. I had a blast with it, minus the excruciatingly long 12:30 end. But other than that, I thought, again, AEW, Tony knows what he's doing on pay-per-view, so nobody should really doubt what he's doing at this stage of the game, 6 years in. So always deliver on pay-per-view. Where you want to go, Jason? You want to do Saturday night's commercial event?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time on that. Let's burrow through Saturday night's main event, because there's no need to spend nearly as much time on this show as we did on Double or Nothing. I didn't watch the show live. So I came into it. It was still on, but I came into it after it had already started. And thankfully, Peacock let me start from the beginning. Because I don't know about you. In the past, I've had issues with that, where when an event starts, if you don't start with it on Peacock right at the beginning, it doesn't always let you go back to the beginning, which is a huge pain in the ass. So thankfully, that wasn't an issue for me, like it sometimes is for other people. But I mentioned that because everybody on my timeline was complaining about the commercials. And so because I didn't start it live, I was able to fast forward through the commercial breaks. So they didn't annoy me as much as they annoyed, I'm sure, you and everybody else. But you could tell when there were breaks in the match, and where it did annoy me is the fact that when you have on a show like this, really there's no match that goes longer than 13 to 15 minutes. You don't get long matches on Saturday night's main event. Let's say a 13-minute match, right? You're not getting 13 minutes of wrestling. You're getting to see 6 or 7 minutes of wrestling, because half the match is eaten up by commercials, especially if they have more than one commercial break. So yeah, I could fast forward through the commercials, but I'm still missing, it feels like I'm missing half these matches. So I think the criticism is valid. I don't know what the hell happened here, because they always have commercials on NBC. It's not like this is something new, but it just felt to me this was as bad as I've ever seen it.
Bro, it was awful. Jey Uso and Logan Paul went 9 minutes, and I'm watching the show, and they went to commercial mid Jey Uso entrance, only to come back. Logan makes his entrance. He does 3 moves, and they go into another commercial break. 2 commercial breaks in a 9-minute match, bro. We'd be lucky if we got 4 minutes of a world championship match with one of your most over superstars. The same thing happened in the Open, where Punk's entrance was made. The bell rings. All 4 of them brawl. We just got back from commercial, or we go into a commercial. We come back. Braun Breaker does that little dive he does over the top rope where he bulldogs somebody over the commentary table, and they go into another commercial break. It's like, bro, the match went 10 minutes, but I got 2 commercial breaks in a 10-minute match. Like, what am I watching?
Well, you're watching commercials. That's what you're watching.
It was never this bad. I don't remember it being that bad. Everybody says,
Yeah,
it's TKO, it's Netflix. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but...
No, it's network TV. And
what is the point of Saturday night's main event if we can't enjoy the fucking wrestling?
Well, that's the thing. And so this is the point I made on my show. I grew up on Saturday night's main event, so when they brought it back and they had all the retro elements, the music and everything, I love it. Like, I love that shit. And I'll be honest with you, I'm at a point now where unless they really load this card up with, like, I'm talking like WrestleMania-esque matches, like, I watch Saturday night's main event, I find myself more excited just for the retro vibe than probably most of the actual matches. It's a vibe, is what the show is. The show serves no purpose. There was a point in time 40 years ago where you didn't have PLEs every single month, right? I mean, when Saturday night's main event first started, it was 1985. You had WrestleMania. That was it. You didn't even have Survivor Series for another 2 years. So Saturday night's main event, A, being one of the few major televised shows they did, and B, being, on NBC, that was a big deal at the time. It was a huge deal. And you had Hogan, who was the biggest star on the planet in wrestling in this country. And so obviously him being on the show was a big deal. And it served a purpose. They shot angles on the show. Maybe you didn't always get classic matches, but they shot important angles that led into the next big event. What is the purpose of Saturday night's main event now? What do we get on Saturday night's main event now that we don't get in 2.5 hours every Monday and 3 hours every Friday? What do we get other than Jesse Ventura? What do we get?
And emotion.
What do we get?
We get
realistically.
I'm struggling to. It's a precursor into the pay-per-view. What is it?
We get well, of course, it's one big advertisement for the pay-per-view. Yes, in this case, Money in the Bank. They said a big Money in the Bank matchup at the very end of the show. But the point is, the show doesn't really serve a purpose in the way that it used to. It's like, okay, we're going to give you guys 4 times a year, 2 hours of primetime television on NBC. So if you're WWE, you're loving that shit. You're not going to turn that down. It's like, okay, great. So it's only 4 times a year, but we have these big events every single month, and we have so much wrestling on TV just from that company alone. Every single week, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Saturday night's main event. It's like, oh shit, we got to do one of these. So let's put a card together and we'll trot Jesse out there and we'll fulfill our obligation. It's to the point now where it feels like AEW with those Battle of the Belts specials, or it just felt like we're obligated to do them. So let's just do it. In this case, though, it's on NBC. It's not on cable. And so that's really what this is. Like, the show really doesn't need to exist.
So make it worthwhile for fucking fans. Why do we need 5 matches and all these commercial breaks in a fucking 5-minute match, 6-minute match? It's like, give me 3 matches. If you want to give me a 20-minute match and give me 2 commercial breaks, I'll take it. But a fucking 10-minute match with 2 commercial breaks in it, that's where I draw the line.
It's an NBC thing. I mean, take it up with NBC. I mean, they're the ones that call for the breaks. And WWE has to figure out, okay, where do we put them? So do you front load all of them? Do you have them all at the very beginning, like right after the entrances, but before the bell rings? Or do you space them out, right? I mean, that's a decision that they ultimately have to make. So I'm not going to put it all on WWE. Like, they're the ones that are saying we're going to have X number of commercial breaks this show. I understand it doesn't work that way, but it's okay to say that it ruins the viewing experience, because it does. And it's not like we're getting so much great wrestling on these Saturday night's main event shows that it makes up for, whatever commercials we get. Even the matches we get are very bare bones. They're very basic. Like, we watched a triple threat Money in the Bank qualifier that was 10 minutes long on Raw last night.
That got one commercial break, by the way.
Dude, that match was better than anything I saw on Saturday night's main event.
I agree.
It was better than everything rolled up into a ball and combined on that show. That one match was better than anything we got on that show.
I don't know. Something's got to be done. Nothing will be done, no matter how many fans complain about it. No,
what they're going to do is they're going to load up the next one because they've got some competition that weekend. So they're going to want to put their best foot forward. And you hear the rumors, I'm sure, about some of the matches that they're considering for that Saturday night's main event show in Atlanta.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Yes, Goldberg is going to be there. We'll talk about
that's not the only one.
I know. I mentioned it last week. I wouldn't be so. I heard from a good friend of mine saying Cody versus Cena, Cody versus Punk, or Cody versus Roman Reigns could be on the table in any one of those matches. I'm like, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Going against All In.
How awful, dude. How awful. If they do the Cody Cena rematch with all these commercials on Saturday night's main event.
And what, it goes 12 minutes?
Well, I mean, they would almost have to like front load the ads and do like a commercial free final 30 minutes or something. Okay, how do you do that? How do you do a match that big on a show like the one we had on Saturday where you're constantly interrupting it?
You don't.
That would be awful.
I don't know. This is what is speculated, but this itself was a PLE worthy match if they wanted to fucking give these guys any amount of time. Punk, Zayn, Seth, and Braun. This was the opener of the show. You missed most of it because it was in 2 fucking commercial breaks, but we'll talk about the end because Bronson Reed showed up, returned for the first time since War Games after breaking his foot, after foolishly jumping off the top of the War Games cage with an attempted tsunami through a table on Roman Reigns, only for CM Punk to pull Roman Reigns off the table. Terrible spot, left him out, made him miss WrestleMania. He's finally back. Happy to see the big man back. He destroyed CM Punk and stood side by side with this new dangerous alliance of Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Seth Rollins. I'm glad they added somebody, Jason. I'm glad that Bronson Reed's name was in consideration. I know a lot of people look at Braun Breaker as being the badass, so why add another badass in Bronson Reed to that? But minus all those minor negative comments, I feel like Bronson Reed adds a sense of legitimacy to the group. And what I was looking forward to most on Monday going into last night's show was the explanation as to why Bronson Reed was in this match, because a lot of fans were upset about Bronson Reed laying Seth Rollins out with 6 tsunamis and then all of a sudden joined the group. And I said, give Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins time to explain themselves, because if you're going to talk about them not, filling in the gaps here, you're talking about the wrong 2 guys. Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, never in my time watching this product have they skimped on giving us an explanation on anything. Rarely, very rarely. The explanation they gave last night was very good. They didn't mention War Games. I even threw that in on my own volition. But the explanation that they gave was Bronson Reed's a killer. Seth Rollins appreciated the fact that he went out there and took the moment for himself, and he wants that type of killer in the group. And it was never about Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins. Bronson Reed was in a little feud with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce was not giving him what Bronson Reed felt like he deserved, so he took it, and Rollins was in the wrong place at the wrong time and suffered the consequences for it. It never had anything to do with Seth Rollins, so Seth Rollins basically forgave Bronson Reed and welcomed him in because of the fucking viciousness that he has. I like that explanation. I don't know how you felt about it.
It never had anything to do with him, but he still gave the guy 6 tsunami splashes and tried to murder him.
Whatever,
so,
man.
I mean, it's like
when you drink, man. I should stop at the 3rd one. I'm going to go for a 4th one,
You squashed me 6 times, but I didn't take it personally, so it's all good. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a very basic explanation. I was happy they at least addressed it because they had to. I would have liked to have heard something from Bronson Reed. We didn't hear anything from him at all, or Braun Breaker. But they addressed it. Seth is, he's the visionary, and this is his vision, and he's got an eye towards the future, and, this is what he felt he needed in this group. And so that was the explanation. They look great together. They look like, a trio coming out to the ring. They look great. I do think that maybe they need to do a better job of sort of distinguishing Reed from Breaker, because they both came out last night wearing black suits and shades. I said it was like, remember the Authority when Rollins would come out with J&J Security?
Yeah.
And they came out wearing suits. This is like if J&J Security bulked up it's like he has a bulked up version now of J&J Security. They dress the same. They look like Secret Service agents. They're standing out there.
Like fucking AOP out there.
Yeah. So maybe differentiate them just a little bit. Maybe have Reed in a suit and Breaker wearing something else. But I like it. I like the group. I like that Bronson Reed is back. He came back earlier than I thought he was going to be back. I hadn't heard his name mentioned at all lately. So it's great. And he's now, I do wonder, had he not gotten hurt, if he would have been in that transfer window, moved over to SmackDown and become a permanent part of the Bloodline. Because we said this about him in the Bloodline going into War Game. Now he fits like a glove, right? He fits so perfectly in there. So I do wonder if maybe we would have ended up with that, and things obviously went a different way because he got hurt. So instead of being in the top heel group on Friday, he's in the top heel group now on Monday.
Yeah, he would have fit like a glove in the Bloodline for sure. I'm glad he's back, no matter what show he's on. I'm a big fan of his, as is Jason. So I do agree, though. I do wish we heard from him yesterday. We did not. Hopefully, we do get to hear from him because I want the other guys to have a voice and just not be led by Rollins, and they're just mutes standing behind him wearing.
Roger has a great. Yeah, Roger has a great. It says B&B security.
Yeah, B&B.
It's true.
Yeah, B&B security.
Instead of J&J, it's B&B.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens here. I have a question to ask you, bro. Who is the fourth man?
You know, you keep adding men in these different situations.
Bro, you know we're going to War Games, man. Who's the fourth man?
Whenever I'm with JD, it's like it's raining men. You're thinking of fucking War Games, dude. It's May. Who even knows if these guys will be together in November? You're talking about War Games. I'm not thinking about War Games. I got too much wrestling on the brain, dude. After the weekend we just had, and then the weekend coming up in July, it's like you're thinking of War Games.
I know. I got to get it in, man. Third man, fourth man. I wouldn't be surprised they had a fourth man. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, I could see them adding a fourth man, but not for a few months.
No. Women's Championship, United States Championship. Women's United States Championship is Zelina Vega, Chelsea Green. The less about this we talk about, the better. This was awful. If there was anything to be omitted from this show, it was this. The 5 minutes to this that they got could have easily been given to Jay and Logan Paul or the tag team match that we just talked about. The United States Championship, Jason, this is all I'll say. Whether you like Zelina or not, fine. I think the United States Championship has been one of the more dead titles in WWE, especially since it's been created. Ever since that December 14th Saturday Night's Main Event where Chelsea Green won it, it hasn't felt important whatsoever. No idea why they gave it to Zelina outside of the fact they wanted to make her husband feel like a more welcomed addition to the SmackDown roster. But outside that, this was awful, and the United States Championship needs to come off. You mentioned Julia last week. I hope that happens sooner rather than later, man. Get that title on someone that's going to do good by it, and that's the perfect woman to do it.
I mean, they set it up because Julia pinned Zelina in the triple threat, which is what I talked about actually the week before that. I said, if Julia were to win, she should pin Zelina in that match. And that way, coming out of Money in the Bank, she's got to win over the champion. And from there, you just go on to have Julia win the championship and give her just a monster run, with the title. And have her, I think it would benefit both of them because Julia is still an unknown entity to some people on the main roster. I mean, some people know who she is. A lot of people don't. And that title needs all the help it could get. So if she's going to be booked in a strong, dominant way, it will help having that championship on somebody like that, as opposed to somebody at the level that they have slotted Chelsea or Zelina or Piper Niven or Michin. The title needs something more than that to give it credibility. So I like that idea. I think Chelsea got her nose broken or busted in this match. It was a botch 619 that looked terrible. Yeah, this match could have been omitted from the show. It was added very late in the game. Was it the night before that they officially added it?
On Friday Night SmackDown, yeah.
Yeah, this didn't have to be on this show. One thing I miss, they go with all these retro elements for Saturday Night's Main Event, and the one thing they don't do, which they used to do all the time, were the backstage pre-match interviews. And funny enough, they did a pre-match interview in the back with Chelsea before her match, but it was like very quick before she went out. I'm talking like those stand-up interviews in the back. Somebody can, make their entrance. They cut to the back to interview the next guy before he goes out. And you could use the time that way. I mean, yeah, you could add it to some of the other matches, But I wish they would incorporate some of that into these shows. And they could have omitted this match and given us some backstage promos instead of just the matches, which is pretty much, all we got here. But yeah, this was unnecessary on this show. This didn't have to happen.
No, this went 5 minutes, and Zelina wins, retains the United States Championship. John Cena against R-Truth.
Oh boy! Speaking of things that didn't have to happen.
Yeah, I know. I know. Listen, I said in the build up, in the lead up to this, like, I didn't mind it because they obviously have some sort of history, and we all know R-Truth to look at John Cena as his hero, and he wanted to snap some sense into him, and we were looking at the bigger picture. Coming out of Backlash when Cena beat Randy Orton, there was that moment of clarity and him kind of recognizing the fans maybe do love him, and he loves the fans. Nothing really happened because after that happened, John Cena put R-Truth through the post-show scrum table, and then we got this match made because R-Truth wanted to snap John Cena back into reality and bring the real John Cena back, because what we get right now, he feels like, is not the real John Cena. We got this match, Jason, and it was nothing more than... It was almost like playing a video game. You would spam your finisher and signature move, and then your opponent would do the same thing because he stole your finisher and your signature move because he reversed the fucking maneuver in WWE 2K25.
It'd be like I made my creator wrestler using the same moveset as my opponent.
It was just basically tit for tat. They mirrored each other's moves, and then that was it. An AA ended R-Truth, and that was the end of it. There was no follow-up. There was nothing. There was no John Cena having another moment of clarity. It was just the end of the match, and we move on to the next.
Well, I mean, he teased that, you know what, I'm not going to use the title.
I know, but
after he brought it into the ring, and then what did he do? He did what he does in every match. He kicked him in the dick, and then he won. And I said, no dick is safe in this company for the rest of the year, so long as John Cena is wrestling. And he won the match. I think that depending on who he's in the ring with, like when we eventually get Cena and Punk, I have pretty high expectations for that because I just feel like those two guys, there's something special with those two. And I feel like if John Cena is going to have that one real quality singles match, this final run out of anybody that he'll end up in the ring with, it's CM Punk. That's a match I'm looking forward to. Otherwise, I set my expectations very low when I see John Cena in the ring because John Cena, you should know coming in, you're not going to get a lot from John Cena at this point. Whether it's because he just physically doesn't have it anymore to give you what he used to, or he's just holding back because he's got movie projects and he doesn't want to overdo it. He doesn't want to get hurt. He's playing it safe. Let's be honest. All he has to do is play the hits. Every city he goes to, it's his final stop there. It's his retirement tour. I get it. But I expect nothing out of John Cena when I see him in the ring. And you get matches like this, which are very basic. They're very stripped down. This heel turn, I'll just say it. I think the John Cena heel turn sucks.
It's fucking awful.
I hate to say it because when it initially happened, there was all this excitement. You know, everybody was talking about it and buzzing about it. And oh my God, we waited so long to see this. This heel turn fucking sucks. It's just the way it is. It sucks. It was doomed from the moment they shot that angle in Toronto next to The Rock. It was doomed from that day forward.
Which was such a great fucking segment.
It was, but we all know what happened there. So it was doomed to fail at that point because people got their expectations up for an angle that was never booked.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne.
Yeah, for an angle that was never even booked. So putting that aside, this was what I expected it to be, but like you said, I thought there would be more story elements to the match. I thought it would be more of an angle than a match, and it was just a match and not a very good one. It's like, okay. And Cena just left.
I know people.
Now, he came back. He came back at the end of the show. But as far as the R-Truth stuff, he walked out, and that was the end of it.
I know people are disappointed. You have every right to feel disappointed about John Cena's heel run right now and his title run. I get it. I feel the same way. Jason feels the same way. Do you feel like we can't blame Dwayne for this? This is all Triple H. From this point on, from Elimination Chamber, this is all Triple H. Do you feel like they just don't care? Does John Cena not care? Why is it much? And I know he has select dates that he has to make, and there's like 24 of them still left. Why aren't they putting more effort into making this feel memorable? And why is it feeling so flat? Why are they just so content with it being John Cena's going to play the greatest hits, but as a heel, and that's all we're going to do? Why don't they want more for this?
Because this was never supposed to happen. I mean, this is not something that they were planning for like a year. Like, we heard The Rock talked about this. They were talking about this in February. Like, they were batting ideas around.
He wanted Cody to go heel, and then Triple H supposedly said John Cena. How about John Cena goes heel?
I mean, supposedly, this is what The Rock said. He said Triple H was like, well,
listen, man, we can't give Triple H the hook here, get him off the hook here, you know.
But I'm saying there are parts of this that are no longer, well, supposedly, reportedly, like The Rock came out and talked about this. It was Triple H's idea, and it was not the first idea. And they had to run it by John, and Cena was like, yeah, sure. And supposedly this was like February. It's like February. Like you didn't have an idea in mind, like locked in for this guy in advance, or you did and you just kind of cast it aside just like that. Like, this wasn't something that they put a whole lot of thought into, is my sense of it. And it is his final year. They're not booking Cena for the future. Like, man, we really got to get him over as the super heel because, you know, in a year, he can put so-and-so over. They have him for select dates until the end of the year. Looking at what they've done so far, they would have been much better off not turning him at all. And if they were going to turn him, then yes, they should have turned him at WrestleMania. It would have made for a more shocking moment. But if this is what they were going to do, they should have just kept him babyface and not even put the title on him at WrestleMania. They should have told the story throughout the summer. You could have put the title on him later on. This is all stuff that I'm sure you and I talked about 6 months ago. But they chose to go in a direction that they had no long-term plans for. So now they're half-assing it. I don't get the sense that John Cena is showing up every week with a book of notes on all the fun things he can do. He shows up, he does what he's told, and he goes home. And that's it. And that's all he has to do. And at the end of the year, he's going to clock out and he's going to go make movies. And that's going to be the end. But in the meantime, these are the types of matches that we're going to get. And we can hope for Cena and Punk, or Cena and this guy, Cena and that guy. And we get a few gems in there. And that's, I think, pretty much all that you can ask for. And it sucks, but that's just the way it is. You know, this was a heel turn that came, 13 years, 14 years too late.
It's fucking awful, man. Imagine Cena and Cody at Mania, Cody winning, and then Orton turning heel at the end of WrestleMania, and then we get Orton and Cody for the rest of the summer.
You can come up with 5 different ideas in hindsight that would have been infinitely better than what they did. I mean, sir, you could go up to a random stranger on the street who doesn't even watch wrestling and say, hey, explain the scenario to them and say, can you come up with an idea on how you would book this? And they would come up with a better idea than what they actually did. Probably.
I just didn't think that we get R-Truth in 2025 against John Cena in his final year. We got 24 appearances left, and R-Truth is one of them. But this is what we're.
I actually thought that there was a pretty decent chance they would do it, but it would be like a SmackDown match, and they would. I didn't know
maybe
that
use
Cena
him as a
good.
lackey or something.
Well, that was what I said a few weeks ago, where it's like he could be the useful idiot that Cena has, and you could do that for a while until finally Truth has had enough and he fights back. But they just went right into, like, again, the most basic thing that you could possibly do. And you know what else hurt it? And they only had a few weeks to promote it, but it was R-Truth going out there and cutting promos on nobody.
Yeah.
Or maybe John Cena was there, we just couldn't see him. But he wasn't on the show. So it wasn't even like we got that one segment in the ring on SmackDown where Truth was cutting a serious promo face-to-face with John Cena. Cena wasn't even there. What do you expect? What do you expect to get out of this? When the person isn't there, what do you expect to get out of this?
Just an awful, awful feeling. And this is why WWE's creative has hit a fucking brick wall. It's just a lot of this and everything else that they're not doing right now. Speaking of Cena, Jey Uso and John Cena had a backstage confrontation after this match was over, and Cena said it would be quite something if Logan Paul were to defeat Uso for the World Championship, causing a scenario where the world title would be in the hands of a YouTuber. Now, while he is obviously thinking he's going to take the WWE title till the end of the year and the clock is going to strike 0 and he's going to ruin pro wrestling, imagine both he and Logan Paul are champions by the time he retires.
Oh, God.
So Cena said, I'll be watching your match with Logan Paul later very closely, which we'll get into in just a second here. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, they had a steel cage match. Fine for what it was. Nobody's ever going to go back and watch this. I would have expected a lot more from this, except Drew McIntyre is claiming that he can't turn his head to the left and that he's very banged up, and they wrote him off television in this match with a concerto. And Damian Priest even came into this match banged up, and management was very proud of Damian Priest reportedly for working through the injuries to get through this with Drew McIntyre. So kudos to both guys. SmackDown is going to be a lot worse without Drew McIntyre, but that's how I feel there. Jason Cat.
You know, if I were Damian Priest and my opponent went on a podcast and said that he couldn't turn his head all the way to the left, I would have come at him from the left side during the match. I mean, that's just me. That would have been my strategy.
Yes, that's a very sound strategy there. Yes,
that's right. I mean, hey, they don't. I could be the new wise man. But look,
you could be.
You completely missed the most important part of the match, which was Jesse the Body Ventura.
I have it right here, man. I got the news. I got the whole notes on Jesse Ventura, man. And listen, he was on commentary for this match, and he's great. His voice is still iconic. It's nostalgic, and I love hearing him. I love what he brings to the table. There's just a sense of realism there that they just allow him to have. And he's speaking over Lillian Garcia, and he's arguing with Pat McAfee and Michael Cole, which is fantastic. But the news made the rounds, Jason, that Jesse Ventura was complaining that Drew McIntyre won the match because he didn't go over the top of the cage, that he walked through the door, and he was just befuddled and just confused as to how one could win the match by walking out of the front door of the steel cage. And he was just going on and on about why did that happen?
You missed. There was a first part to this that had nothing to do with any of this, where he mentioned at the beginning of the match, he said, yeah, you know, back in my day on NBC, they would never show a cage match, you know, on NBC. And I'm like, that's funny because there were actually 2 steel cage matches back in the old days on Saturday Night's Main Event, both of which Jesse Ventura did commentary for. And so that was a very odd comment for him to make, as if they had never done a cage match before on NBC when he was literally there for those 2 cage matches. But then we got into what you were just referring to later in the match.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why he wouldn't remember what he was actively part of.
Well, he's 73 years old.
I know. Maybe he's dealing with something. I don't know. Maybe he just forgot. But he said, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. How do you win going out the door? I thought you had to go over the top. What kind of BS is that? He can walk out the door."
In the Gulf of Tonkin. Maybe he's been hanging out in the Gulf of Tonkin, and he's just out of the loop. I don't know. Just
maybe he's gotten into one too many conspiracy theories. I don't know.
Maybe.
Fightful Select adds that there were a lot of laughs backstage at Ventura's rants, but no one was upset at all. They shouldn't be. He's how old did you say? 73?
73.
That's fine. Jesse's gonna do what Jesse does. He brings a natural charisma to the show and a sense of humor that is much needed on this show because it's just so fucking sterile. Listen, the ending, Jason, was fucking lame. Let's be honest. The ending was lame. I even said it when I covered it on Saturday night. Like, I understand that they need to write Drew McIntyre off television, and they did so with a concerto, which they actually paid back to some history with Damian Priest and Edge.
He took his mentor Edge out with it as if he hasn't been seen since. He got taken out with a concerto, and that guy Edge just disappeared off the face of the earth. We have no idea what happened to this man. Honestly,
in theory, he did because he doesn't exist anymore.
Right. It would have been better off that way.
He doesn't exist anymore. Edge is just fucking gone now. The concerto wrote him off television. I get why they didn't want to pin Drew McIntyre, but in this case, honestly, if he's injured and he's going to be out for an extended period of time, why not just fucking pin him and give the crowd a legitimate ending? I mean, you heard the fucking, I don't know how many people were there, 10,000, 11,000 or so in Tampa at the England Center. You heard 11,000 balloons pop, bro. When he walked out the door, it's like the fans were like collectively like, this is it? And then Jesse was going on about his rant, and I'm like, I agree. He walked out the fucking door. He didn't even walk out cohesively, man, consistently. He looked back and wondered, should I be doing this? Yes, go back and pin him.
Well, he looked back at him and he made a comment. I think it was like, now it's over. I think he said something like, now it's over or something, and then he left. But yeah, I mean, so Jesse, first of all, Jesse buried the shit out of the finish of this match live on NBC, and it was glorious. And I could just imagine, Michael Cole with probably his head in his hands, and Cole's trying to be like, yeah, but Jesse, those are the rules, I mean, there's nothing, it's legal for him to walk out the door. But Jesse was bang on with this. And again, Jesse was also a heel announcer for many years. So that was part of it. He's trying to be the heel, but he was also the voice of reason. And I think he makes a very valid point here, which is that these two guys, and this is the reason I had an issue with this, these two guys have had an on again, off again, like blood feud for the better part of a year. This was the blow off. So think McIntyre and Punk in Hell in a Cell, right? This is the blow off to this feud. And he gives him a concerto. And then instead, and I can understand the 7-foot guy when there's a door right there, he's not going to just climb over the cage, but like, why wouldn't he pin the man? Instead, he just walks out the door. And it goes to the whole like escape the cage stipulation. There are a lot of people who don't like that stipulation. There are a lot of people who maybe weren't fans of WWF in the 80s when that was how they did all their cage matches. And that's a Bruno thing. It goes back to the 70s, and he used to escape the cage. So really, it was like a territory thing with WWF. But there are people who don't like that stipulation. Now, I grew up on that and having that as a way to win a cage match. Brett and Owen, right? You know how great that cage match was at SummerSlam 94, and that was escape the cage rules. There's a way to do it and make it very dramatic, and it's great, and I really don't mind it. Generally, I will defend that as a potential finish for a match. I can't defend it in this case because it doesn't apply here. In a feud like this, he should have pinned the man instead of just casually walking out the door. He's going to walk out the door anyway. So why not pin the guy, give him that pinfall win, especially if Drew's going to go away for a while, who gives a shit, and then he could walk out of the cage and turn back around and go, now it's over, and then continue on his way. So the finish was absolute dog shit, and Jesse was right to shit all over it, and I'm glad he did. And I hope he did give them, anxiety and stress on headset as they were listening to him, probably going, no, because Jesse's going to do his thing. Jesse, when he gets going, you can't stop him. That's what makes Jesse. So I was in 100% agreement with him over the finish. I thought the finish of the match was awful, just given the nature of their feud.
I agree. Everything you said, I agree with. Drew McIntyre, hope he gets well soon. I don't know how serious the injury is, but SmackDown is now less than without Drew McIntyre, and we'll see what happens with Damian Priest. He just feels very directionless right now after leaving the Judgment Day and getting thrown into this random feud that has gone on for months with no real direction and where he goes after this, but we'll see what happens. But that was a steel cage match on Saturday night. And we get into the main event here. Logan Paul and Jey Uso. Again, nothing to really talk about here outside of the fact that Cody Rhodes made his return after John Cena got involved here. So Cena pulled the referee out and started to attack Uso, which I even said on Saturday, I don't know why this match wasn't really given a disqualification after John Cena pulled the referee out.
How was that not a DQ at that point?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over in Stanford, but
Jesse, if he was on commentary, he would be ranting about the referee in that match.
Maybe we should have got him back out there for the main event. So Cena pulled the referee out, attacked Uso. Cody Rhodes then comes out, and he saved the day here. Jey Uso eventually beats Logan Paul with the Uso splash. Cody Rhodes made the announcement that it will be him and Jey Uso, where they do have history as Raw Tag Team Champions, so it's not like they are two strangers teaming up together. But the tag team match is made. It's Cody and Jey versus Cena and Logan Paul at Money in the Bank. Now, I want to talk about this just for a little bit, Jason. This match is made, and granted, it's a lot better than what we were rumored to be getting, which we could still very well get. It's not confirmed that this is going to be it and this is going to be the match at Money in the Bank. Travis Scott reportedly may still be at Money in the Bank. I heard today that he pulled out of something in Money in the Bank regarding the show, so hopefully he is not there. That would make a lot of us happy. But the rumor was Travis Scott and John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, I believe it was, right? No,
the rumor was a six-man tag with Cena, Logan Paul, and Travis Scott against probably Cody and the Usos.
Yes, that's the original plan. I'm glad we're not getting that. We got a shortened version of that here with what Cody announced at Saturday night's main event. Like, I get the partnership with Jey and Cody, and I get I get why Cody's back because he wants John Cena and the WWE title back. But Cody and Cena is one thing, but Cena and Jey Uso is just, it feels very random. And they tried to sell you on the fact that, well, Jey Uso eliminated John Cena in the Royal Rumble and he beat John Cena to win the Royal Rumble. That's fine. but they've never had any interaction since then. So now you're trying to manufacture something just to get us into Money in the Bank. That's problem number one. Logan Paul and John Cena, outside of a few mentions here from Logan Paul about wanting a match with John Cena, they really haven't had any interaction as well. So that's kind of non-existent. The only thing I could really point to as why they would be teaming up is because it fits into the narrative of John Cena wanting to ruin pro wrestling. And, he's going to stand by a YouTuber because that fits his narrative. Outside Cody and John Cena, I don't really see this match making much sense. And I feel like it's very haphazardly put together. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, now we know why Gunther is getting his world heavyweight title match on Raw and not at Money in the Bank, because this is the idea that they had in mind for Jey Uso. We don't know what might happen in the match as far as, coming out of it, if there might be some other match that, stems from the outcome of this match. It does feel very random. It feels like they're just trying to kind of stall until they get to the later shows in the summer, Saturday Night's Main Event, SummerSlam, and then they could do the bigger matches there. It's like, well, what do we do with Cena, right? We have to have Cena at Money in the Bank, so what do? We don't want to do him and Jey Uso one-on-one, because then who wins? So we'll bring Cody back and do a tag match, and we'll get everybody involved. That's just kind of how it feels to me. And they get a couple more weeks out of Jey Uso and Logan Paul, and then that'll be the end of that. And we already know Jey Uso is defending the World Heavyweight Championship 2 nights later against Gunther on Raw, which is a whole other story about where that may go. I still feel the same way I felt when they made that announcement, which is that the winner of Money in the Bank, depending on who it is, may well cash in. Which goes to another thing, and I'll bring it up now, since we're skipping around here. But we do have that world title match on June 9th. They're going to be in, I think, Phoenix is where that Raw is.
Yep.
And I was thinking, like, Goldberg has been in the news. I'm going to bring him up now. Goldberg has been in the news. Goldberg himself gave us a little hint about when his retirement match is going to be. He said it's going to take place in the South. And he said it's going to happen he said it's going to happen at some point before the end of the year. Gee, thanks, Bill. But he said it's going to be in the South, which would eliminate SummerSlam because SummerSlam is in New Jersey. And then we come to find out that Saturday night's main event is going to be in Atlanta. And when he said the South, I thought, well, you're either looking at Atlanta or you're looking at Texas, which is where he lives now. And it just so happens they've got this show coming up in Atlanta. So that may well be where they do his retirement match. So who is it going to be against? I think most people still assume it's going to be Gunther. Now, we don't know that as a fact, but if you're a betting person, Gunther is probably the leading candidate right now. And I have been trying to figure out, how do they get to this match? They didn't shoot any kind of angle with the Pat McAfee stuff. How do they get to Gunther and Goldberg? How does this match go down on that June 9th Raw without having Jey Uso just beat Gunther again, which would be an awful idea?
That is not going to happen.
Okay, well, enter Mr. Money in the Bank. One way to get around that is if, let's say, Seth Rollins, who we now know is in Money in the Bank, if Seth Rollins wins Money in the Bank, he could cash in on that Raw and pin Jey, and Gunther doesn't win the match, but at least he avoids having to be pinned. That would be one way to get out of, he's not going to win the title, but we don't want to beat him. Well, the Money in the Bank winner could cash in. It's still a situation where, how do you get to Gunther and Goldberg? You still got to figure that part out. But I've been trying to rack my brain, like, how are they going to get this guy out of this match without just beating him clean for a second time? That could very well be the direction they're going in here. Why they're, doing the match that Monday when they have a Money in the Bank winner who already has the briefcase. Maybe they'll cash in that Monday.
I agree. I think that's going to happen. And I do think it's going to be Seth Rollins, though it may piss off some LA Knight fanatics out there. Seth Rollins just makes the perfect candidate to win the world championship, especially on Monday night, being that's his entire mission statement with this new group. The haphazard match for the tag team match at Money in the Bank, I'm not a fan. Just get me to Cody and Cena 2 or whatever the case may be. 2-3 matches out of it. Just give Cody the championship back. I can't wait for the Cena thing to be over. But as far as Money in the Bank and who we could potentially be looking at as the new Mr. Money in the Bank this year, we still have 2 spots still to go, with one to be determined on Friday. Solo's in, LA Knight's in, Penta's in, and Seth Rollins is in. Penta got in last night by beating Dragon Lee and Chad Gable in a fucking unbelievable open to Monday Night Raw last night. Great match. Probably one of the best Money in the Bank qualifiers I've ever seen. Seth Rollins is in there. He's my favorite. LA Knight's probably my dark horse. And then the match to be determined on Friday, Jason, includes Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, and Jacob Fatu, which Andrade, I love Andrade. He's not getting in. Jacob Fatu's the United States champion. I don't think he needs to be in, though I could see them doing him and Solo in the same match together, which I don't think is necessary. I'm going to go Carmelo because I think he needs a shot in the arm more than anybody on that show.
He needs it more. Yeah, he needs it more than Jacob does.
So, and the match kind of just fits Carmelo more than it does to me, Jacob, right now, as these three guys go. But as far as the ladies, Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Nia Jax is a qualifying match on Friday. Right now we got Alexa, Roxanne, Rhea, Julia already qualified.
The women's lineup is
stacked.
Strong as hell. Yeah.
I'm going Naomi to win and win Money in the Bank. That's my prediction there.
Naomi should win
early.
It's either Naomi and Nia on Friday. And as far as Money in the Bank overall, I would go with Naomi as well. I'm still surprised she lost at WrestleMania. They turned her heel. She hasn't really had a lot of big wins recently, so she could definitely use a Money in the Bank win to cement that heel turn. If they're going to do something with her, that would be the way to get her in there.
How do we get Goldberg, though, into a match with Gunther? Because everything you talked about, I like it. I like Rollins cashing in, winning the world championship. Where does Goldberg come in to say, hey, man, I want Gunther for my retirement match? Does he just come out and challenge him?
Feels like it. Because why would Gunther? So they haven't said anything on television about Goldberg having his retirement match soon, even though he was in the media. He was on ESPN.
We got like a video package, a very short video package before the Rumble, though.
It was so long ago. Yeah. Most people watching the television show don't remember that.
Yeah.
So if maybe they run a video package or something, they remind people about Goldberg having his retirement match this year. Maybe it's as simple as Gunther cuts a promo and maybe he volunteers his services. I would like to be the one to retire Bill Goldberg from the ring. It could be something as simple as that. I just don't know what Gunther would say or do that would, for example, lead to Goldberg making a surprise appearance and giving him a spear. Like, why?
Maybe he melts down again after losing the championship in the way that he did?
Gunther?
Yeah.
But what does that have to do with Goldberg?
Maybe Goldberg comes out and is the hero for saving Gunther from beating someone else down. I don't know.
Why? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why we're in this situation where we're trying to figure out what makes sense, because there's no real reason for that.
But why would Gunther just call out randomly to retire Goldberg after he just got screwed after Seth Rollins cashed in a contract to ruin his chances of the world title? Why would he go from that to Goldberg?
Because he's not getting another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship.
But he should, because he got screwed.
Of course he should, but he's not going to. Everybody who loses the World Heavyweight Championship.
Why is this so confusing, man?
This
should have been the easiest thing to book with Pat McAfee involved.
Everybody who loses the World Heavyweight Championship should want a rematch every single time they lose and think they got screwed. But at some point, the program ends and you got to move on. And you got to come up with some logical reason why this person would not come out. Like Charlotte Flair. She lost to Tiffany at WrestleMania. Why didn't Charlotte come out on SmackDown that Friday and say, I want a rematch?
And someone in the chat said, have Goldberg attack Gage in the crowd. Just have him randomly snap and just attack.
If Goldberg attack Gage?
Oh, right.
That would be a hell of an angle.
Yeah, Gunther, rather. Attack Goldberg's son, Gage.
So, according to JD from NY, Gage Goldberg will be his retirement opponent.
Listen, whatever, man.
Goldberg against Gage.
Gunther attacking Gage in the crowd and not knowing that it's Goldberg's son.
I like this idea of Goldberg attacking his son. Tell me more about this.
Listen, man, I don't want Goldberg on television, man. Whatever the fuck gets him in and out. Just
that long-term booking that you're always talking about?
Yes, definitely. Maybe his son is a part of it. I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, he did say he was on a show. He was on the Von Erich Boys. They have a podcast. So Goldberg was on there, and he did say that Gage will be walking him to the ring for his retirement match.
Okay. There you go.
So I don't know if he'll be part of the build-up to the match, but he will be there for the match.
Is Gunther going to lay down for Goldberg in his final match? Are we getting a jackhammer 1, 2, 3 on Gunther by Goldberg?
I'm going to pretend that you didn't just say that.
Listen,
like, that's
I don't. You,
completely ridiculous idea.
Who's to say Bill doesn't have creative control?
He did say he has some creative control over the rollout of. I think he said the rollout of the announcement. Like, it didn't make any sense when I read that. Like, what does that even mean? So he didn't say like I have creative control over what I'm doing. It was like I have some level of control over how we're going to like introduce this and present this. But what that means, I have no idea.
Well, maybe he's got a better idea than good old Mr. Levesque over here. I don't know.
I was going to say, look, it is his retirement match, so I can understand him wanting to have some level of input and control. Like that makes sense to me. But yeah, I'm very curious how they're going to get to this. And that's even if Gunther isn't the opponent, whoever the opponent's going to be, like, how are they going to reintroduce him to TV? When do they shoot the angle? What does that look like? But from all accounts, it looks like they're going to do this match on July 12th on Saturday night's main event. And they're really going to try to load that show up. Gee, I wonder why. But they're going to try to load that one up more than any of the other Saturday night's main events they've done so far.
Well, I mean, lucky for Tony Khan, that show is taking place at 8 p.m. and hopefully by the time that show airs, All In will be over.
It won't be.
Maybe. Who the fuck knows?
Me?
There may be 6 hours of All In.
The main event will be going out to the ring.
I wouldn't be surprised if he actually extends it just to kind of bleed into Saturday night's main event.
Let me just say this. I see this reporting everywhere that All In is starting at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes.
Now, I could have sworn that was announced initially, but then there was an announcement that went out, at least for the people who bought tickets, that the show was actually starting at what would be 1 o'clock Eastern time. So do we know for sure, like, when the show is
last
actually...
time I heard it was 3 p.m.
Okay.
Maybe it's what do you prefer, 3 p.m. or 1 p.m.? I prefer 1 p.m., honestly.
I prefer 1 p.m., except that I'm flying back in from Texas back to New York and probably landing around like noon. So 3 o'clock would make it a little bit easier for me.
Yes.
Personally, to start the show, because I'm not staying in Texas to go to the show. I'm coming home to try to get home before the show starts. So wish me luck.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. Last I heard it was 3 p.m. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, Saturday afternoon. All In is happening at 3 p.m. as far as I know. That's July 12th. Saturday night's main event's happening 8 p.m. that same night. But the news today, which we are not shocked by, and once we heard that WWE wanted to add other shows around this same weekend, we are not surprised that they put something head-to-head with All In, and that will be NXT's Great American Bash at Center Stage in Atlanta. That is happening at 3 p.m. on July 12th. And then Sunday, July 13th, we're getting Evolution 2 at the State Farm Arena, which thankfully that is happening on its own night away from all this nonsense on Saturday. So we can enjoy that on Sunday night. But Jason, the Bill Goldberg retirement match is going to be more than likely in this weekend at Saturday night's main event on July 12th. And speaking at the Double or Nothing post-show press conference, Tony Khan was actually asked about the recent counter programming and how it's ramped up from WWE's end. It's pretty consistent, he observed. I'd say it's the most consistent event head-to-head scheduling I've seen since Jim Crockett Promotions saw a lot of scheduling that went that way. And then he referenced the past where Jim Crockett Promotions was eventually sold to Turner, partly due to WWE's counter-programming tactics. Khan offered a defined outlook on everything that's going on right now. He says, I can tell you this will go a lot differently than that did. And he didn't say any more after that. Now, if you guys are not aware, one of the more egregious counter-programming faux pas was from Vince McMahon to Jim Crockett Promotions. And Jason, what was it? It was Clash of Champions going up against WrestleMania 4, where Clash of Champions was on free TV, and Vince counter-programmed it at the same time in the same day as Clash of Champions. Was that one of the bigger ones?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it goes back to Survivor Series. I mean, the whole genesis of Survivor Series is traced back to competing with Starrcade over Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve, because that's when Starrcade used to be. Yeah, and then eventually it was moved to the following month. So it goes back at least that far. And then if you remember, there was a Bunkhouse Brawl or Bunkhouse Stampede show in January of '88, and WWF came up with the Royal Rumble as a free television special to counter that event. And so then I think after that, it was the whole WrestleMania thing. And that's how we got the first Clash of the Champions for free on TBS with the first Ric Flair Sting World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that going on back then. And I remember the pay-per-view companies, basically, they kind of put their foot down and said, look, you two better cut this shit out, or we're not going to cover any of your fucking shows. Because, they were getting caught in the middle of all this. So, yeah, there was a lot of that going on back then. A lot of underhanded stuff that was going on. This is what competition can breed. I think competition is a great thing. But in this case, it's a situation where this is not the first time WWE has done this. This is the most obvious, blatant example of it so far. And they could argue all they want to and say, oh, no, this has nothing to do with AEW. I mean, don't piss on my boot and tell me it's raining. Like, we see what's going on here. And they're well within their rights to do it. But if you're a fan who watches both products and you want to enjoy both products and you want to watch them live so you don't get spoiled, it's not ideal to have shows running opposite each other. And it's not just that they're running opposite them. They're loading up that entire weekend. They could have had any other weekend they wanted to, right? But it's happening that weekend. So they're going to try to drown out their biggest show of the year as much as they possibly can. We're going to have the first Evolution show in 7 or 8 years, and we're going to load up Saturday night's main event, and we're going to run an NXT show opposite AEW All, and I guarantee you they're going to load that show up too. It's pretty clear what they're doing here. I mean, I think it's pretty shitty. Again, they're well within
shitty.
their...
I fucking hate it. I don't like it at all.
I hate it. Yeah, no, I hate it. And they're well within their rights to do it. But I think it's just very petty and very scummy. And when Tony Khan makes comments like that, he's not wrong. Because we have not seen anything like this since the days of Jim Crockett and Vince doing what he was doing to Jim Crockett back then. Find me another example of that. He wasn't even doing this with WCW in the 90s. I didn't see this kind of counter programming going on to this degree back then.
No. And the thing is, a lot of people, this narrative now, this cool thing is enjoy all pro wrestling. How could you enjoy all of pro wrestling when WWE is largely taking what they consider their third brand right now, and they want to be even more in the spotlight than it ever has been in NXT? How could you enjoy NXT, and how could you let that roster shine on its own when it's going to be placed on the same day and in the same on the same time as All In? Like, you're taking away from everybody that is actively competing on that show because you're putting them up against AEW's biggest show of the year. How are you letting them shine on their own and giving them the spotlight that they deserve? You're using them as a vehicle in your pettiness. As pettiness, the pawns in your pettiness to get one over on the competition. That's not fair to everybody there. So if I'm Tony Khan, and I said this on social media, and the sickos obviously took it the wrong way, he can make all the comments he wants. This comment was a lot better than the last time he made a comment in regards to Jim Crockett Promotions. Book the best show that you can, give us the most engaging stories that you can, and give them a reason to tune into your show, and do not find yourself bothered by what NXT is doing. I understand that NXT is the direct competition for AEW because that's what the community has made it out to be. Do not mind them. If you're making this about beating the developmental brand, you've already lost. You got a multi-million-dollar roster that's collectively maybe the greatest roster ever of talent. Put on the best fucking show possible and don't be bothered with this nonsense. That's what he needs to do. And I hope this inspiration is driven by what WWE is doing here. Hopefully. I can only hope.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll do that. But again, it goes back to the whole, Labor Day stuff, and WWE started running stuff on Labor Day. This is also why you hear stories about Tony not announcing, dates that far in advance for his pay-per-views. This is why. Because he just feels like as soon as he does, they're going to pounce and they're going to try to counter program and at some point you just have to say, okay, look, they're going to do this no matter what. It's out of my control. There's nothing I could do. All I can do is put out the best show that I possibly can and get people so excited for this show, they will opt to tune into my show instead of tuning into their show. The reality is this. Again, ever since this was mentioned the other day, I mean, it's a fucking dumpster fire, like on Twitter. I mean, it's a dumpster fire on there every day. But like the back and forth and the toxic trolling and everything, it's gotten so much worse. anybody who is a WWE fan or an NXT fan who is going to watch Great American Bash was never going to watch All In.
No.
And anybody who is going to watch All In is not suddenly not going to watch their biggest show of the year because, oh shit, the Great American Bash is on. So most people are going to still watch what they want to watch. But there are people who love all wrestling and they want to watch everything. And it just makes things a little more difficult when you overload the day or the weekend with so much stuff. But this is WWE. I mean, this is what they do. It really shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, you know?
No, I asked around and I was talking to a couple of people that I regularly converse with in regards to pro wrestling, and they said, one of them said to me that this actually hurts AEW in the eyes of advertisers. And I asked, how so? Because I'm not really up on that kind of thing with the ticket prices. They told me that to an advertiser or a network that indicates AEW must suck, you can't justify any reason why your competitor can charge 5 times your ticket prices, sell out 60,000 easier than they can sell 25,000. And he said, basically, the appeal of AEW in 2018 to Warner Brothers was the fact that the first All In show, where they were only able to draw 10,000 fans as a non-WWE entity, that was an indicator that there was a potential audience there. Now in 2025, if you look at the All In ticket sales, which are still having a hard time selling, even at $60 nosebleeds versus next year's Mania, which is going to do 50,000 plus, where those tickets are $300 to $400 nosebleed. So he says that the advertisers, in the eyes of the advertisers, is going to hurt AEW by WWE doing what they're doing. Do you believe that?
I mean, it could to some degree. I don't think it's going to be anything significant. I don't know. I mean, I just think we all know that it's petty and there's a lot of back and forth. And look, Tony Khan in the past, you know, he used to go on social media more than he does now and take pot shots at WWE. And so that's different. You know, the company's taking digs and shots at each other. You know, sometimes it can be juvenile. Sometimes it's fun and entertaining. But when you're counter programming or you're, you know, booking certain weekends and certain venues for certain weekends and trying to divert attention away from the other show, is it going to have a negative effect on AEW? It could. Is it going to have a major effect on advertisers and things of that nature? I don't know. I don't know how significant it'll be. I just think Tony has to go out and just, again, put on the best possible card that he can. Tell the best stories going into the show. You got T-minus 2 months, okay, month and a half, whatever it is, to really put this card together. Because we know nothing about this show except the Owen winners are getting world title matches, right? That's all we know. We assume Omega Okada, but the rest of the card has yet to be fleshed out. Just put on the best card you possibly can. Put on the best television that you possibly can to build that card up. And hopefully you will be rewarded for that. And people will gravitate towards your product if they like what they're seeing and they're interested in what they're seeing. And that's really all Tony can do. Nick Khan is not going to stop doing this. You know, Nick Khan, you saw how smug he was in the build up to WrestleMania when he was doing interviews. Yep. How smug he was when he was talking about the other guys. Or, what did he say? The comment about the father, the son's father. I know the son's father. Like, you know, making comments like that. That's what they think of AEW. You know, they have no respect for them. They have no respect for Tony. They have no respect for AEW. They have no respect for anything they do. And it's so patently obvious. And right now their business is booming. So they feel like they're bulletproof and they have nothing to worry about. And that may be the case right now. That won't last forever. But I don't see what Tony Khan can do other than just go out and put out the best product possible. That's it. That should be his only goal right now. He's not going to counter program WWE.
No.
He could, but WWE's got a much bigger audience, a much bigger, you know, footprint than they do right now. Just focus on what you do best and put out the best product you possibly can. And I think people will show up.
I know we'll be watching All In. I'm not watching fucking NXT. It's just ridiculous. I'll catch up to it when I catch up to it. Saturday night's main event, I'll catch up to it in the late hours on that day or early the next morning and then get ready for Evolution. It's a lot of pro wrestling. So selfishly, as a content creator, I fucking hate it. But it's going to be an exciting weekend nonetheless. So we'll keep our eyes on that and see how the All-In card fleshes out. We'll end with this before we get into your super chats. WrestleMania, we saved the best for last year. WrestleMania no longer in New Orleans. I made a video on it. Jason talked about it on the Sound Off. This was the news that kind of overtook the entire news in the IWC. And WrestleMania no longer set for New Orleans. And this actually was reported by Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics earlier on Thursday. So the statement provided by the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation indicates the event was rescheduled to a later unspecified year. New Orleans was announced as the 2026 host in February on SmackDown by none other than yours truly, The Rock, the same day that he asked for Cody's soul. So not only do we have that one storyline just going up in flames, Jason, now his announcement for WrestleMania has also gone up in flames. So Rock is 0 for 3 this year, bro. 0 for 3.
He's not having a great year.
No, it's good. It couldn't happen to a better guy, The Rock. So, yes, The Rock revealed that. Everybody was excited. WrestleMania 2026, as of now, nothing is confirmed on where it will be, though the rumor is that WWE will be heading back to Vegas. I'll get back to that in a second. Money in the Bank. New Orleans is getting Money in the Bank in 2026, and that's happening on August 29th, 2026. The same weekend where it's a national bank holiday in London. The same London that Tony Khan wants to bring All In back to next year. So I don't know if that was also a strategic move by TKO, Nick Khan, and Triple H, but I just want to throw that out there that it falls on the national holiday in London. So if Tony's thinking about All In, I don't think I'll be making it that weekend, bro. Fuck your traditions. So Money in the Bank is going to New Orleans, Jason. We'll stop there and we'll continue on with the story. Now, that's great and all. They're getting WWE LE. Money in the Bank is one of the big signature 5 that they do all year. But the way that I describe this is, it's like me going to a really good friend's birthday party, and I'm gifting him a PlayStation 5, and I see all the gifts on the table, and I'm like, all right, here, I'm giving him a PlayStation 5. He's opening up the thing, and PlayStation 5 is, there. He's got a new system, and I'm like, yeah, let me take that back, man. I'm going to give you a Nintendo DS instead. It's like, you fucking kidding me, bro? You're getting the biggest show of the year, and you're giving them Money in the Bank. And Jonathan Coachman made a very good point. You gave them WrestleMania and rescinded it, and are giving them Money in the Bank. That's like the NFL giving someone the Super Bowl and saying, nah, we're going to take this back. We're going to go to somebody else, and we're going to give you the Pro Bowl instead. And he also mentioned that this would have never happened under the Vince McMahon administration either. So I don't know what you felt about them rescinding the move initially. What was your initial reaction?
Disappointment, because I was probably going to be going to New Orleans. I was at the first the first 2 WrestleManias they did there. I went to both of them. And that first WrestleMania was much better than the second one. But I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed my trips there. Yeah, you can go to New Orleans anytime you want to. But to go there with friends and all the wrestling fans descend upon, New Orleans, it's always a fun time. So my initial reaction was disappointment. But also, when I thought about it, it's not surprising. And it really shouldn't be surprising to anybody why this is happening. Because TKO, they love the smell of money. And they have dollar signs in their eyes. And when they realize how much money they made off of this WrestleMania this year, it was so overwhelming to them. Now, you would think they would be like, oh, wow. Like, we just set all kinds of records. We already announced New Orleans, but you know what? Maybe we should go back to Vegas the following year. So maybe in 2027, we'll bring WrestleMania back to Las Vegas. Dude, it's like in the cartoons where they go to run and like they're running in place the first few seconds and then they go boom and there's like a cloud behind them. Like they couldn't wait to run back to Vegas. And even if that meant really putting the screws to New Orleans, which is what they did, New Orleans got fucked over in this deal. A lot of people got fucked over in this deal. There are vendors now, they're going to have to break contracts. They may have to pay penalties for that. But for the money they know they're going to make going back to Vegas next year for WrestleMania, like whatever money they have to pay now to get out of these contracts, they're going to more than make that back. But there are a lot of other people who are going to get screwed because for a fact that there are independent vendors, conventions, independent promotions, who I'm sure already locked in deals for venues.
Oh, WrestleCon already had a venue locked in. They were ready to go.
Yeah. In and around the New Orleans area. And now they're pretty much fucked, and they have to break those deals. And hopefully they'll be able to break them without any kind of issue, but maybe not, and maybe they have to pay a penalty for that. Now, that's not WWE's problem. They don't give a shit. But there's a lot of people who are going to get kind of screwed over by this move. It's greed. They're a business. They're in business to make money. There are certain ways that you conduct yourself, though, and I really think it is completely shitty to go out and announce online. Now, think about what they did here, right? They didn't just send The Rock out there on TV to make the announcement. They sent him out in New Orleans,
yes,
on SmackDown, and he announced it, and everybody lost their minds, and they're jumping up and down. They're so excited just to turn around and say, psych. Oops, we're kidding. But don't worry, we'll get you on the backside. We'll bring WrestleMania back to you at some point, which is what they said. They haven't said when. Well, you'll get a WrestleMania down the road. In the meantime, here, take Money in the Bank. We'll give you Money in the Bank.
Yeah, but who knows when that's going to be? I mean, we got Vegas supposedly next year, and then people are talking about Indianapolis. They're definitely getting one because it's in their contract with the state.
Sure.
Saudi's definitely getting one. I think that's a foregone conclusion. No, though nothing is confirmed. And a lot of people thought that Saudi was getting it next year, but I even said, like, you can't do Royal Rumble and WrestleMania in the same year in Saudi. It's just ridiculous.
Well, London wants it.
Yeah.
And again, you have to bid on it. That's the way it is these days. They're not just going to get it. But
Atlanta was another one.
Yeah, Atlanta's been mentioned. I haven't heard them mentioned for WrestleMania lately, but their name's been in the mix. So what TKO did here was just out of pure greed. They saw all the money they made this year at WrestleMania, and they're like, well, we'll just go back and replicate that and do the same thing again. So all the people, by the way, who were priced out of WrestleMania this year, because Vegas is expensive. Like, forget the ticket prices. It's Vegas in general. Like, the few times I've been there, I've had fun, but it's not an inexpensive place to visit.
I looked to go for a one person ticket. Round trip was like $1,200-$1,300 just on ticket alone.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and that's before you even got there, right?
Yeah.
So that's my point. And then you add in the cost of WrestleMania, any of the other events you want to go to, fan access, whatever it may be. It's very cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And so those people are probably looking at this, figuring, oh, okay, well, we couldn't go this year, but we'll go next year. And now they're like, shit. Because whatever it cost this year, if anything, it'll probably be more next year. And eventually when they bring WrestleMania somewhere else, right, like New Orleans, what'll end up happening is they'll jack up ticket prices even more to make up for all the money they're not going to make because they're not in Vegas. And who's going to pay that? You. You and me and anybody else who goes to those shows are going to be on the hook for that because these prices are not going down anytime soon.
What a vicious cycle that is, man. That is fucked up. And WWE, listen, for WrestleMania, they made $5 million site fee without even fucking announcing a match or selling a ticket. And then they got a $4.2 million in tax break. Yeah. So it's like, look, that's why they're going to Vegas. A lot of the big wigs, a lot of the suits and ties that work for TKO, they live in Vegas. Nick Khan supposedly grew up in Las Vegas. That's the center hub of UFC, and TKO is Las Vegas. So they're going to look now, according to Meltzer, to run there every few years. Not every year. It could be every 2-3 years, every 3-4 years for WrestleMania. But I feel bad for the people of New Orleans. Like Jason said, that's one aspect of it. You were so excited, and people come from all over the world to travel to WrestleMania and make it. This is their vacation for the year. People aren't going on extravagant vacations away from pro wrestling. They are centering a lot of their vacation time around pro wrestling and WrestleMania. And for the people that, didn't go this year and were opting to go next year because it was going to be in New Orleans, now you're not going and all of your plans are fucked. Your Airbnbs need to be canceled, hopefully refundable. Everything that you planned for your family is now gone because they want to keep it in Las Vegas next year. I feel for those people.
And also, like, even if you're one of these city officials in New Orleans, like, they always gloat every single year about the economic windfall, these cities get from WrestleMania, right? We brought $200 million into this city this year for WrestleMania. And so they were banking on that and looking forward to that. And WWE just swooped in and said, yeah, you're not getting that now. So that's what irks me about it. Like, on a personal level, I'm not outraged like some people might be who maybe already started planning their vacations around it. But it's just to announce it publicly like that. You've already made the announcement. And then to pull out just out of pure greed. Yeah. That's all it is. There's no other reason for this. That, to me, is really shitty. and tells you what their sole motivation is. They're not looking to curry favor with their fan base. No. They're not looking to curry favor with anybody like that. They're looking to curry favor with, these different, just these different business partners,
celebrities.
Oh yeah, they're celebrity partners. Those are the people that matter to TKO and the management team there. They're not looking to curry favor with you and me and just the average WWE fan. They don't give a shit. And they know they're going to get your money anyway, some other way. So they're not worried about it because they feel like right now they're Teflon, their business is booming, and hey, there's more money to be made here. Then that's where we're going to go.
I could see fans being upset from an aesthetic reason. Obviously they want WrestleMania to be like a worldwide destination and different city, different vibe, different WrestleMania set every year. How is it going to feel? What is the ambiance and the feeling going to be if they go to WrestleMania and it's basically the same set, the same everything, the same vibe, the same feeling as they were feeling this year in Allegiant Stadium? I mean, are people going to have a problem with it not feeling different? I don't know. I would like it to be different every year. Are they going to use the same set? Are they going to reuse the same assets? Probably. I mean, they want to make money and not lose money. So why would they spend fucking multi-million dollars on a brand new set when the set, it honestly was one of my favorites that they've ever done, So
yeah, and I'm sure they spent probably a few million on it to put it together. So they probably will end up using a lot of the same assets. The people who buy tickets and will go to the show, they're not going to care. Like you said, is it going to bother that? If you're buying a ticket and you're there, like you're there, like you don't give a shit so much about that. And they don't give a shit because they already have your money. So the moral of the story here is, to me, I understand why they're doing it. And I could see from their perspective, business wise, like it makes business sense, right? You go where the money is. That's why Saudi will get it, one of these years, because they're going to make a huge offer for it. They're going to make a huge play for it at some point. And actually, they I forgot the guy's name, but the one who was having conversations with them about bringing Mania and the Rumble to Saudi specifically mentioned the Rumble and WrestleMania, and they have the Rumble, so it's only a matter of time before they get WrestleMania. It's about where they can make the most money. That doesn't mean that it isn't really, really shitty for the people in that city because you already made the announcement and then you turned around and pulled this.
Yeah.
But don't ever mistake what their intentions are. Don't ever mistake what their number one goal is here, which is to make as much money off of you as humanly possible.
Yeah, and the SummerSlam this year, that's the first two-night SummerSlam, is not really helping anybody's cause either because obviously WWE's got even wider eyes. The New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority gave them $7.1 million in site fee to have SummerSlam over 2 nights. So if WWE got $5 million in Vegas, they're getting $7 million for a SummerSlam. You don't think they could get $10 million now for WrestleMania? So everything's just going up. I mean, their eyes are just getting bigger, and it's like fucking going to the buffet, and your eyes are bigger than your stomach. They don't give a shit. They don't care. So that's not helping things either. So the dates for next year's WrestleMania, they were scheduled to take place on April 11, April 12. That is now being moved back, and more than likely, again, they're possibly looking at Easter Sunday, Easter weekend again. So we'll keep an eye on that and let you guys know what's happening. So that's the news. And we appreciate you guys for joining us here on TNT episode 97. We're going to get into your super chats. Make sure you guys get them on in. It's the best way to support what Jason and I do here on Tuesday nights. And we got another 90 likes to go for 1,000. Man, you guys are killing it with the super chats. Oh my goodness. I'm liking that number I see there. Follow us on social media, YouTube, everything you need is linked down below. And please make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Michael Krause with a $2 super chat. Good Tuesday, JD Jason. Hope all is well. Yeah, thank you, Michael. David Thiering with a 20 bomb. Hey, JD Solo, as I said on Solo's channel last night, hopefully you both are close to recovered after a long AEW pay-per-view on Sunday. No, I'm not.
Not quite, no.
The countdown is until episode 100 of TNT, and he says, I got a good laugh at the end of the sound-off this past weekend where it was a clip of you both going back and forth on the pronunciation of ketchup and Mario. Great work as always, fellas. I got to listen to that. That was funny.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, my guy put a new outro together, and I listened to it. I go, is this from the most recent show? He goes, yeah, it was a riveting discussion. I had to slap something together. I said, okay.
Yes, ketchup. Yes, ketchup.
Ketchup.
Tone C. Thank you, David, brother. Appreciate it. Tone C with a 5. From one of my favorite movies, what's red and green that goes 100 miles per hour?
Oh, God. Isn't that from Friday the 13th movie? I think part 2. A Frog in a Blender, right?
That's it. There you go.
Yeah. That's from, I mean, it may have been in more than one movie, but like that was a joke in, I think, the second Friday the 13th movie.
He knows better than me. He's the horror aficionado over here.
I am.
Ali with a 5. JD question, which Roman Reigns song do you prefer, the current one or Head of the Table? I enjoy his heel theme more than the babyface one.
Yeah. I mean, the heel theme is infinitely better than the babyface theme.
Yes, it definitely gave off Final Boss vibes. Sidro with a 10. Asked wife when her birthday is. She says March 1st. So I walked around room and asked again.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
And Germany is now advising people to stock up on sausages and cheese. This is called the worst case scenario.
WURST.
Yes, worst, yes.
Of course.
Yes. Thank you, Sidro. Boss Mo Jackson with a $4.99. I fear WWE will squander Rusev, Black, Cobb, and Cross. I hope they really invest in these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of them work out. Well, Rusev and Sheamus is going to be a banger. Sheamus doesn't have bad matches, and everybody loves him, so that should be good for Rusev.
Way to be a Debbie Downer there.
I know.
None of them are going to work out.
Black, he needs to get it going, but WWE hasn't done him any favors by starting him out with The Miz. Jeff Cobb, I don't know who that is. And Karrion Kross, I hope he's in Money in the Bank. That's all I could say. But JC Mateo, they got him on TV, this time wrestling in actual wrestling gear, so that's progress. Sidro with a 5. Cop pulls me over. Came up and said, papers? I said, scissors. I win, and drove off. I think he wants a rematch because he's been chasing me for 45 minutes. Can you imagine if that actually worked?
Not only would it not work, they'd shoot your tires out. You'd be lucky they don't shoot you.
Boss Mo Jackson with the 199. I want to encourage you guys to be great role models.
Role model.
Now, well, we may see Bailey at Money in the Bank. We got Lyra and Becky in a rematch.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing, if not Money in the Bank, that Raw after Money in the Bank.
Yep. Also with a 199, Final Destination is out. Will you be watching it? I don't know. I'll probably wait till it comes to one of the streaming apps, honestly.
Thinking maybe about, I don't go to the theater too often, but I might go for that new Jurassic Park movie.
Yes.
Because I saw the trailer, and the trailer, I haven't seen the last few. Because I know they've done a whole bunch of them now, but this one looks interesting.
Yeah, and the new Mission Impossible. I saw the last one, which was great. I'm definitely going to go see the next one.
Yeah, but I think the Jurassic Park one comes out July 2nd, I believe.
Boss Mo Jackson, the 499. What are some spots and sequences of wrestling that annoys you guys the most? What's with the complaints on Jesse's volume on Wednesday's stream? Everybody is a little stunad. Jesse got the same microphone as Jason and I, and he sounds better than he ever has. So I don't understand that. The worst sequences in pro wrestling that annoy me, honestly, the one that annoys me most is when everybody just stands around waiting for somebody to jump off the top rope, either to the outside or in the ring off the top rope, and they just stand there looking up, waiting for them. Like, can you do something to actually make it seem a little bit more natural? That's mine.
I have a lot of them, but that's one of them. But I would say just the constant kickouts from big moves is still like a big pet peeve of mine. Like, it's okay to do it a few times, but it's done so much now, it actively annoys me.
Sidro with the 2. If Satan ever goes bald, there will be hell to pay. You get it, to pay?
I do. They used to make a lot of jokes at Vince's expense on commentary about his toupee that he would wear.
Antonio with a 2. Rest in peace, Rick Derringer. Yes. He was partially responsible for Hulk Hogan's theme, wasn't
he? He co-wrote the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his song and Demolition's theme.
There you go. And according to Conrad Thompson, JR did have surgery and hopefully is going to be on his way to a full recovery. So that was the last thing he tweeted. Devil Jinx with a 5. Solomonster, OTS, acknowledge me. Your commentary, chief. JD, I love you, Solo. I jest. I love your reviews and discussions, fellas. Well, thank you, Devil Jinx.
I'm glad you enjoy them.
Thank you. Michelle with the 2. Do you think we will get Punk Seth in a Hell in a Cell?
No.
No. I do think that'll be a World Championship match, though. Ali with a $5 super chat. What do you call a Star Wars droid that takes the long way around? R2 Detour. Ali, thank you for your attempt, bro. Appreciate it. Mark of Kane with a 5. JD, have you seen the Bella Ramsey memes of her playing Ellie? She's getting creamed. I feel bad for her, but the memes are hilarious. I heard that the finale was so bad compared to season 1, they lost 50% of their audience. After watching season 2, I can honestly say I'm not surprised.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, I enjoyed the season.
Season was good. I actually stopped playing the game after Joel died. So most of this is new to me because I stopped playing the game. But I actually went back and watched some videos of the game on YouTube, and I can tell that they've maybe deviated away from some of the game in certain points. But I'm enjoying the series. I always love those post-apocalyptic vibes. Johnny Boy Vaccaro with a 20. Hey, JD, you mentioned, what does Cena and Jay have to do with each other? I think in a segment, Cena calls out Jay as a generational talent with Samoan descent. With good creative, Cena and Rhodes and Uso could make some sense. LOL. Sure, I might have missed it, but the only thing I could see is them in the Royal Rumble. That was the only time they crossed paths. So, Unravel Gaming with it too. Mike Santana, Trick Williams next Tuesday for the already.
Yeah, I saw they announced that is official for next Tuesday's NXT. Trick Williams defends the title against Mike Santana.
Wow, that was quick.
So I would assume and hope it'll be a loss that'll build to a rematch, and in the rematch they do the title change.
Well, they're very random down there, aren't they?
I don't. It's like they're throwing shit at the wall and just trying to see what sticks, just to get things going here. That's what it feels like to me.
I don't know. Maybe that's why you guys like it. I mean, I like a little bit more of an organized chaos, but it seems like it's fucking all over the place down there. Unraveled Gaming with a 2. Thank you, brother. David Thiering, $10 super chat. You have said this before previously, JD, and in my opinion, fits Mercedes to a T right now. Mercedes is Lady Pac-Man and got to get those dots, power-ups, and titles en route to the end of the Pac-Man level, a.k.a. Tony Storm. Yeah. Listen, David, it's going to be a great match. We are just, as fans, concerned about the overall health of the division and where the division is going to be after that match, because there's legitimately nothing left for either woman if they win. It's a very valid concern. Hannah with a $4.99. I could see Mercedes versus Mariah, especially since Mariah has been posting pictures with the Owen Hart belt and the AEW Women's Championship. No, that's just her playing good soldier because she doesn't want to get time tacked on top of her contract. That's all. Guantanamo Bay is a scary place, Hannah. Furious Nation with a $9.99. JD, what's up, Solo? Hope your Memorial Day was good yesterday. Just want to give you a quick update. That foot surgery recovery is going well, and I might be clear to put full weight on it this Thursday. Well, that's good news.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Congratulations, bro.
What was the exact injury? Was it a broken foot or?
Not sure. Furious, what was it? A broken foot? What type of injury was it, bro?
Ligaments?
He also said with the $4.99, who's the most underrated, Mr. Kennedy or Chris Masters? Out of the two, I'm going to go Chris Masters.
Underrated? Yeah, I mean, people had Kennedy pegged as a future world champion, so I don't know if underrated is necessarily the right word. Masters was not good enough at first for the push that they gave him.
Oh, he had the look, though.
He had the look, but he just wasn't ready in ring for that spot. And then he improved, and I think they brought him back, but they didn't do anything with him.
No.
And he was a better performer then than he was the first time, and they did nothing with him.
Reggie Girl Gamma with 54 months. What's up, JD? How you doing? I've been busy as of late. I don't have much to say, but I'm 5 months sober. Rage, I am very, very proud of you. That is incredibly inspiring. And you guys know, my community knows about me, and my parent Jason knows as well. about my parents and their problems with alcohol. That is incredible to hear, Rich. Congratulations, and please keep me posted on that. Happy to know that. Base Beerus, $2 super chat. Jey Uso has stage fright. Yeah, that promo last night was. I don't know if he forgot his fucking lines or what happened.
No, dude, it was fucking terrible. I said, he was pacing back and forth, and it was almost like he had like a blue screen of death error, and he needed 30 seconds to reboot. And when I could go on about this promo, dude. It bugged the shit out of me because he waved the crowd off to make them not yeet, right? So they cooperated. They weren't yeeting. He started talking, and I'm like, okay, he's got him, right? But he was still speaking in syllables.
Yeah.
It was like he was giving them a chance to do the yeet chant. It's almost like they didn't know what to do. But then it's like you said, he forgot what he was going to say. He got nervous, whatever it is. That was the worst promo that he has cut since he started this big singles push. That was awful.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Might have been stage fright. He might have forgot his lines. I have no idea. He doesn't look like the type of guys that even recognize or remember lines. He just goes out there and says what he wants.
Well, you know what, bro? You're the world heavyweight champion, man. You gotta carry the segment here.
Yeah. Furious Nation with a $9.99. Also, JD, I agree with you that WWE may be in a null currently, but it's not anything like when Vince was there. I've seen people on X saying that they want Vince back. It honestly pisses me off. Listen, whoever wants Vince back is fucking brain dead, number one. Number two, Jason and I have talked about this not only on this show but separately. These are not bad shows. Like, we have been through bad shows from 2017, 18, 19 into the fucking Thunderdome. You want bad? We covered bad. This is not bad. Are they boring? Yes. Boring is also not good. And I would rather just be fucking straight up bad than boring. I just don't feel anything during these shows. Honestly. I just feel very indifferent.
Sometimes they're bad.
Sometimes they're bad, but they're not like Vince McMahon bad.
No, but you're setting a very low bar if you're going to compare it to that. I mean, come on.
That's what people think they are. They're Vince McMahon bad. No, they're not. Justin Toner with a 10. Thanks for another great show, guys. On NXT, they announced it will be Ethan Page versus Javon Evans versus Laredo Kid versus Ray Phoenix for the North American title at Worlds Collide.
What were we just talking about?
Man, they're really, I swear to God, man, I don't know what's going on in the NXT fucking offices, but holy shit.
So Ricky lost the title also tonight then, huh?
He lost the title to who? Ethan Page?
Ethan Page, I guess.
Why? Is he getting called up? I don't know what's going on down there, man.
I mean,
the fuck is Ray Phoenix? I guess Ray Phoenix in the AAA connection, fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ray Phoenix didn't qualify for Money in the Bank. I assumed he was going to be, but I assumed he would be against Grande Americano, and then they went and announced Chad Gable against Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship that Vikingo doesn't even hold yet, which is priceless.
Yeah, I read today from it was one of the Lucha sites saying that the advertisement didn't air down there, so it's still kind of like, secretive. But if you watch it here, you know that Alberto El Patron is no longer the champion.
That's very secretive. Yeah, I think the secret's out.
They couldn't wait to get that title off of him. Kirk Greenhoe with a $4.99. Wow, NXT is really an S-tier show. As YouTube just crashed and said, "Oh snap! I just lost this guy's super chat." Thanks a lot, YouTube. I really appreciate it. I don't know when they're gonna fix this shit. Honestly, where am I? As I struggle to get back to this here. S-tier show. This Fatal 4-Way at Worlds Collide will be a match of the year contender. Michaels is cooking. Is he? I don't know. I don't think it's an S-tier show, honestly. I don't know where everybody's saying it's an S-tier show, but to each his own, honestly. I don't watch it weekly. I don't think I can.
Well, I'm going to watch this show back because apparently it was a very newsworthy show.
Sure.
And then I'll report back.
Furious Nation with the 499. JD, what is your opinion on Jonathan Coachman's take claiming that he thinks Vince buys WWE back? Maybe he's hanging out in the NXT office. I don't know. When did he say that? I think listen, I like Coach, but I think Coach is chasing the viral moment a little bit too heavy over there. Terry's Odyssey with a 10. No message. Thank you, Terry's. Hunter's Hybrid Media with a 5. TNT segment idea. Purchase the $99 Money text subscription and text back and forth with her live. Read the messages to us. Ha 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 ha. It's not a bad idea, actually.
for $99. You want a text buddy for $99?
An AI bot? Sure. No, thank you, Hunters.
No, yeah. Meltzer was arguing with an AI bot on Twitter this weekend.
Did that make sad tweet of the week for you?
Yes, it did, actually. I mean, how could it be anything else?
Oh my God,
argues with Grok.
He's correcting Grok, man. That's priceless. Boss Bo Jackson with a 199. Thoughts on Trick Williams winning the Impact title? I like it. Shakes up the sterile feeling in the company. I like it. Furious Nation with a 499. Also, JD, happy to see the OTS Beer Garden back. Yes, love the Beer Garden. Hopefully no seagulls, though. And yes, TK's AEW pay-per-view doesn't need to be so long, quality over quantity. Yeah, those seagulls, man. You take a walk in Atlantic City, man, you always got some fucking idiot feeding the seagulls on the boardwalk, and it's just, it's a disaster.
I made the mistake once. Years ago, I went to Jones Beach, and I sat outside. I was trying to eat something.
Yeah, no.
That didn't last very long.
No, thank you.
I got the hell out of there.
Zeno, thank you for the 100. Appreciate you. Boss Mo Jackson with a 199. EO, who will end 2025 with the titles in WWE? Oh, you mean in your opinion? I thought you meant actually EO. Cody and...
Yeah, I say EO. Just give them all to EO.
Yeah.
It's the best they have.
Yeah. WWE title, Cody. World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins. Women's... A little bit more difficult. I'll probably say Jade. Jade or Bianca on SmackDown. And then Raw, I'm going to go with either Rhea or Stephanie Vaquer by the end of the year.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I mean, Cody and Seth, I agree with.
Yeah. Duff's Vids, 499. Why did the chicken go to the gym? Oh, no. Why did the chicken go to the gym? To work on his pecs. Oh, my God, man. All right, that's the joke of the night right there, Sidra. You got some work, bro. Bays Beers with it, too. Should have played Kickstart My Heart by Crew at Anarchy in the Arena. Listen, man. Tony's got a lot of money, man, but Motley Crue, I could see them being overly aggressive with the price of admission for that song, honestly. That is a great song, though. Sidro with a 5. Cop pulls friend over, says, your eyes look red. Have you been smoking something? Buddy says, your eyes look glazed. Have you been eating donuts?
You mean you didn't want to hear them play Saint Anger during Anarchy in the Arena?
That, honestly, I hate that song, and I think the production on that album is awful, but that would have worked, honestly.
That's the one song from it that I liked. They used it for SummerSlam one year.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah. Which year? Oh God, which year was it? What year did that come out?
Oh my God, that had to be 20 years ago.
It might have been 05. Might have been whatever year it was. That was the SummerSlam theme song.
Man, the production on that song is fucking terrible, man. Oh my God. The Boss Mo Jackson with a 199. Fun fact: Mildred Burke, first ever women's NWA champion. It's great. I don't know what I'm going to do with that info, but thank you. Duff's Vids, the 499. What's the name of Mozart and Cinderella's baby? Oh, no. What is the name of Mozart and Cinderella's baby? Mozzarella.
Who sent that one in? Who sent that one in?
Duff's Vids.
There's Duff's again.
Oh, my God, man.
Mozzarella.
2003, Saint Anger, the chat says.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they did the Elimination Chamber match on that show. That's right.
Duff's is 2 for 2. Justin Toner with a 10. Fallon Henley wiped out Stephanie behind the ref's back, and then JC hit her with her finish to win the title, so it wasn't clean. NXT crowd was shocked. Even Mike Rome sold it like, what the fuck just happened? Listen.
It should have been Fallon. I mean, Fallon at least held the North American title. And Fallon, I could see Fallon being a player on the main roster. I'm not saying JC is not going to be at some point, but Fallon, it would have been surprising, but it would have made more sense if that makes sense.
Yeah, I honestly feel like they gave it to JC as a token reign because she's been there for how long? What is it, like 6 years now?
Well, also just to shock the shit out of people.
Yeah. I don't see that lasting long at all.
No,
I don't think she's good in the ring whatsoever.
That feels like a transitional title reign is what that feels like.
Yeah. Sidro with a 2. What kind of dog loves car races? A lap dog. Duff's got you beat, bro. Duff's got you beat, bro. So far.
That's not bad. Not bad.
$4.99 by Duff's. I bought my daughter a handbag from Iraq.
Why am I already laughing?
I bought my daughter a handbag from Iraq. She said, thanks for the bag, Dad. Oh, no. Duff's, listen, bro. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. I like the mozzarella one best so far.
All right, so these are 2 tweets from WrestleOps. This comes, apparently they're taking this news from Corey Hayes of bodyslam.net. Stephanie Vicaire is expected to join the Monday Night Raw roster, and Jordan Grace is expected to join the SmackDown roster.
Oh, boy. Boy, they're really ramping up Evolution, huh?
I mean, it kind of felt that way even just over the last few weeks. We had that 1 week, was it 2 weeks ago, where the women main evented Raw, Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT all in the same week.
Yeah.
It's like, boy, they must be ramping up for Evolution real soon.
Yeah. David Thiering. Actually, before David Thiering, we got Base Beers with the 2. Rock only returned to emasculate Cody. Yeah.
And take his soul.
And take his soul, yeah. He's still upset about Cody stealing his thunder the year before.
David, I want your soul. JD, I'm back. I want your soul.
I hope he never comes back, man. That final boss was a thing of beauty. Never again. David Thiering with a 5. Not only did Vaquer lose, but Ricky Starks lost his title to Ethan Page. Is Shawn Michaels on the bottle again? JD and Solo. NXT better follow up. I don't know. He's on something, man.
He's falling on tough times.
I don't know what's going on down there. D Bastardo with a 5. Hey, fellas, for the Solid Monster, my girlfriend is like a cell phone. If you don't find the hot spot, you're not going to get any service. Jason's not amused, brother. Back to the drawing board, man. Duff's Vids with a $4.99. Doctor, how is that child who swallowed those coins? The nurse says, no change yet. Oh my god. Okay. Alex with the 10. Brother JD and Solo, July 12 weekend looks like a busy week. Is this the norm moving forward? And as many people who do this for a living, how do you guys deal with the workload? Me, lots of caffeine. I don't know how Jason
you drink coffee. I don't.
No.
So I don't know how I deal with it.
How do you stay energized? A Red Bull, an energy drink? What do you do?
I don't have energy drinks. I don't like the way they make me feel. So I don't drink coffee. I don't have energy drinks. I don't do energy bars.
The love of pro wrestling is driving Jason to do these shows back to back to back.
And a touch of insanity, probably.
Yeah. And Sidro's jokes, apparently.
Yeah. Well, Sidro and Duff's.
$5 Super Chat. Why couldn't the porn star get steady paychecks? Because their work always came in spurts. And why pirates call it booty and not booby if they are treasure chests?
That's a good point.
That is a good point. Not feeling it tonight, Sidro. I'm not feeling it. Duff's is 3 for 3 so far. Gold Standard with a 5. The MVP of Double or Nothing was NXT Battleground. Listen, well, I don't know why we're comparing shows. Just enjoy all pro wrestling like the geeks say on social media. Double or Nothing was the better show. Big Haas with a 5. Roman Reigns returns at Money in the Bank and costs Seth Rollins. LA Knight wins. Chaos on Raw main event. Gunther wins. LA Knight cashes in on Gunther. No.
You had me until that last part.
Yeah, no. LA Knight is not winning Money in the Bank this year, even though I think
if he did, I would be, you know what? That'd be great. Shake things up a little bit, but then him going and beating Gunther, who gets the belt back for what? A few minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
Duff's Viz with the $1.99. Everyone told Sam not to sing. but Samsung anyway. Like Samsung TVs?
Yes, that's why I laughed. What do you think I laughed for? Jesus Christ.
Mr. T, I'm explaining for people in the chat that might not get it. Mr. Team Bring with the 199. Fiend. Yes, Tony should have actually played. That would have been funny if Tony played Travis Scott for about 30 seconds.
Oh, my God. The booze would have rained down in that building. It would have been great.
Bradley Slimp with a 1999. I already sent my pity party to Jason in his email. I just got discharged from the hospital, so I'm catching the stream. I just wanted to show my support for the Titans. Much love, JD and Solid Monster from the Tennessee Titan.
The Tennessee Titan himself, Bradley.
Thank you, Bradley.
I hope you're doing well. Sent me a nice email the other day explaining his situation, and he's powered through, and hopefully from here on out, it's all good news, brother.
Excellent. Chaotic with a 199. Shane McMahon's theme equals TKO, word for word. Yeah. Yeah. It's also the Money in the Bank theme, too, isn't it?
It's the $1 Million Man theme.
Yeah. Sam with a 499. I'm starting to get worried and think Roxanne might actually eat nuggets raw with no sauce. Yeah, it's very weird that she delivers nuggets to Dominic with no dipping sauce. And he doesn't have a problem with this.
I mean, I think it's weird that he spent so much time talking about his love of chicken tendies, and he's getting the nuggets instead, and he hasn't said anything about it.
Nothing. Joker's voice with a $10 super chat. Hail Solo, JD and OTS. Next Raw, Money in the Bank qualifier. Liv versus Stephanie Vaquer versus Who Cares. Roxanne distracts. Liv goes on to win. Stephanie still looks good without taking the pin. Thoughts? JMO and Ginger for me, please. OTS for life. I don't know. Do we have any confirmation on Stephanie getting into Money in the Bank like that? No.
No, I haven't seen anything mentioned about what the qualified match is going to be. I know Liv said she was going to go to Adam Pearce and get one, but
yep.
I don't believe that they've announced one.
Big Hoss with a $5 super chat. WrestleVotes reported Mariah getting a big main roster deal. I debut her with Heyman to make her a big deal. Also, Braun and Bronson for Raw Tag Team Champions. Something needs to be done in that Raw Tag Team division because it's fucking boring. And Mariah May, if they're calling everybody up like they are now, supposedly, Mariah should own NXT. I don't know why they bring her up so quickly.
She's your new NXT Women's Champion, if all these other women are getting called up.
Yeah. The Phantom Master with a 5. What did the man say when he lost 25% of his roof? Oof. And I forgot where I threw my boomerang, and then it hit me. Thank you, Phantom.
You know what? Solid.
Okay.
Those are two very solid attempts.
Okay. Anthony Vagonis with a 999. JD and Jason told you both last week Mariah May was a goner. You heard it here first. She will be at Evolution. Probably at the ending of the show. You heard it here first. Also, Double or Nothing, a Saturday night's main event. Actually, no, he says this. Double or Nothing got an A. Saturday night's main event got a B. And NXT got a B. Now, I'd give Double or Nothing a solid B+. Saturday night's main event, I'd give an F. And NXT, I'd give a solid C+.
Yeah, how are you going to give the same grade to Saturday night's main event and NXT?
I don't know. That's not even comparable.
No sense.
And Mariah May's not going to show up at Evolution. I think she's got a contract till well into the fall.
He said she's a goner. I mean, is she like in the Lance and Hawaii way, where she may not make it, or
did she get buried under Guantanamo Bay? I don't know. Where is she? What's her cell number?
It could be like Shawshank, where she has to it takes a while to carve a hole in the wall and then crawl out through a tunnel of shit, come out on the
like
other
those
side.
Fucking guys that dug their way out of Alcatraz with fucking plastic spoons.
That's gonna be Mariah May. That's what she's been doing the last few months.
Oh my God. Base Beers with the $2 super chat. Cena stole K Quick's gimmick 20 years ago. True story. Good old K Quick, huh?
Hey, Killings was a NWA World Heavyweight Champion before Cena even probably was doing the Doctor of Thugonomics. So, he was singing and doing his thing before Cena started doing his.
Happy birthday to A. Jobson in the chat. Happy birthday, brother. Duff's Viz with a $4.99. John Cena, I'm going to ruin wrestling. John Cena's heel turn sucks. John Cena is accomplishing his goal. Simple. By his heel turn sucking, he's ruining pro wrestling, and that's his goal? Sounds like Tony Khan booking John Cena's heel turn.
I swear, with some of the WWE fans, like they truly have come up with this great like the greatest creative of all time.
Yeah,
where they could just book the laziest heel turn and book the shittiest, segments and creative around it, but be like, hey, well, that's what we're going for. It's part of the story. He wants to ruin wrestling. So we just get to book like the bare minimum, just dumbest shit that we possibly can. And the fans will be like, oh, they're doing a great job because this is what their goal is. Like, okay. If
yeah,
you say
I don't get that logic. They think this is all being done by design. No, the fucking heel turn sucks. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
Bay's beers with it too. Does Rock still want Cody's soul? Where's he at? I don't know. He's on his island of Maui with Papa Tui. I don't know.
He's getting ready to film his Scorsese movie.
Good. Hopefully he
stays
stays
the
away.
role of a lifetime for him.
He just got another movie role too. Some psychological killer movie.
So we won't be seeing him until WrestleMania comes to New Orleans in 3 years.
Probably, yeah. Bays Beerus, thank you, brother. El Masse with a 10. I would have Darby win the Casino Gauntlet match at All In for the world title. That's a possibility.
Yeah, that's a distinct possibility. He could be a surprise entry in that match.
Steph with a 1 month. Triple H is creatively bankrupt. I don't know if it's because he's involved with Evolve and LFG, but the writer's block is showing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Everything honestly is just boring to me. Maybe it's just an overabundance of shows back to back and everything is just like kind of all over the place. I don't know. It's not the way it was not even a year ago, so. Nima with a 5. Whose heel run was better, Stone Cold in 2001 or Cena now? I'm going to go Stone Cold.
Yeah, Stone Cold.
Base Beerus with several here. 222. Gandolfini could have done a segment with the FBI. Jesse literally encouraged Bossman to use Cage Door. We're on the road to Summerfest. Ari Emanuel. Summerfest. Jack.
I'll never forget that. That was the guest host era of Raw. And at the Summerfest, what was that? Jeremy Piven, right?
Yeah. Jeff with the 3 months. Cheers to the two best and genuine guys in the IWC OTS for life. My fear is poor creative along with increasing ticket sales equal bad crowds and poor shows. Bro, if you're paying all that amount of money to sit there, you better make some fucking noise. And there was Meltzer put out a report today saying that WWE may want fans to not curse at their shows. Motherfucker, if you're charging me $10,000 a ticket, I'm saying whatever I want. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, good luck enforcing that.
Yeah. 20, Zeno. If I said Triple H versus Edge versus Jeff Hardy at 2008 Armageddon is a top 5 triple threat match, would you guys agree?
No.
If Jeff beats his addiction at that point, he would have been the GOAT of the 2000s and possibly of the modern era. I don't even remember that match, honestly. I have to go back and watch.
That's when Jeff won the title for the first time,
Yeah.
the WWE title. But as a top 5 triple threat match,
No.
it's not even top 10.
No. Hollywood guy with a 5. Now that Stephanie Vaquero lost her title, will she be called up to the main roster, or was this a booking error? No, she's getting called up. And Red is going to even be better on Raw with her there.
It fits with the devil horns.
It does. And like you said, keeping her and Julia off of the same show is key. Wolf Dragon, $5. My picks for songs in Anarchy in the Arena: Danzig, Mother, Megadeth, Crush 'Em, which would have been a good one. Metallica for Who the Bell Tolls. That would have been a good one. Slayer, Rain and Blood would have been good too. Yeah, I mean, those all make sense. We've heard Rain and Blood on Wrestling TV. We've heard For Whom the Bell Tolls. I do wish that a nice rotation of songs would be incorporated maybe next year, but that's asking a lot. It's a lot of money. Lewis with a 5. Like always, JD and Salmon's a good job. Like the show never missed. Do you see anything near that Punk screwing Seth Money in the Bank? I could see Punk at least trying, but with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, it's going to be very difficult for Punk this year. Last year when he did it with McIntyre, there was nobody there to back McIntyre, so he had an easy go at it. Dr. Evil Genius, what's up, my brother? 30 months. Salute to you guys. Haven't been watching the current wrestling product. I don't blame you, man. It's fucking awful. Been watching promos and segments from 1996 to 2005. It's so satisfying.
See, he's got the right idea.
You
Only for me, it would be a little bit earlier than that, probably through like the 2000 period.
Yeah, bro, you ain't missing anything, man. Cody's champion, and it's somehow worse. Cody ain't champion, rather. I know you hated Cody being champion, but he will be champion again.
You want to see something cool on the WWE Vault channel? They have it might be almost 2.5 hour, like a mixtape video of nothing but Big Van Vader matches.
Wow.
I was just watching it earlier. They have his debut as Vader, but they have I left off at Sting and Vader, where Vader beats him to win the championship. Man, those two, man, like that right there. You talk about like an all-timer feud where two guys, different styles, but just how well they mesh together. Sting and Vader, man. Even though I was a WWF guy back then, man, that fucking feud was awesome. Like the matches they had were incredible.
Vader was something else. It was so fucking great.
If we could have gotten that Vader healthy,
yeah,
like 5 years later in WWF, man, forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Boss Mo Jackson with the 199 super chats are the best on TNT nights. Channel is fire. Thank you, Boss Mo Jackson.
Thank you, man.
We got the best fans. V India with a 100 in rupees. WWE should avoid doing steel cage matches unless they're going to book them well. The last one that was truly good was Becky versus Trish at Payback 2023. That was a great match. Feud sucked, but the match was very good. I could have swore we got another steel cage match before that. That was really good. Who else had a steel cage match?
Are you counting Punk and McIntyre inside the cell?
I get you could. Traditional steel cage match, I got to think, bro. I don't know. Brendan with the 499. Rick Williams versus Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship was set up on NXT for next week. Yes. Mike Santana is going to do the deed eventually. Dr. Evil Genius with a 999. I heard that the WWE's greedy move back to Vegas will mess over a bunch of independent wrestling promotions and expos that have already reserved venues in New Orleans. Super sleazy. Yeah. Bro, I think you were the first person that told me when we were working out together regularly that TKO would eventually ruin WWE the way that they are now. I guess you were right on both that and Cody Rhodes, huh? Logan, the Inspired, with a 999. JD, I was curious to know what made you start watching WWE again after you stopped due to John Cena. Jason, I asked you a question, but it's hard to associate with Hulk Hogan super fans. Hashtag TNT. I just missed it. I just came back and said, you know what? I want to start watching it. Hunter with a 499. I'm sorry, 499. Stephanie to Raw, Jordan to SmackDown, according to bodyslam.net. Yes. Good moves. Savvy Seed with 32 months. JD, that Daughtry track you played yesterday before the Raw review is fucking badass, bro. One of my favorite in the game right now. OTS for life. Thank you, bro. I always love to associate what I do with good music, man. So as long as they can find copyright-free music, we're good. Noah Smith with a 5. What's the difference between the Raw Tag Division and World War II? World War II is over. Yeah. It's also a good Call of Duty game, too. Noah Smith with a 5. What did CM Punk say to Adam Copeland when Adam tried to kiss him? I'm straight, Edge. I don't know where you got that one, but he says, I can't take credit for that one, unfortunately. Alex with a $5 super chat. So apparently WWE's planning on asking fans to not use profanity during TV tapings. What the fuck? Yes, this came from Dave Meltzer. I would not put too much stock in that. I don't know where he heard that, but that was making the news today. And, I woke up and had some fun with that. But everyone's like, don't take it from Dave Meltzer, man. It's not so serious. I get it. Ulysses with a 5. JD, the way you are about Stephanie is how I do about Lola. Vice. I love both, but something about Lola is just on point. I just hope she gets over. Lola's a lovely lady, Ulysses. She's not Stephanie, though. And Duff's Vids, one with this, $4.99. Someone threw a jar of mayonnaise at me. I was like... Someone threw a jar of mayonnaise at me. I was like, what the hell, man? Jason knew what the fucking punchline was before.
I saw it. I saw it in the chat.
Mike 43 with the $2 super chat. Triple H and Nick were at the Knicks game. No wonder they lost. Yeah, wasn't he sitting behind the Indiana Pacers fucking bench? What's going on there, man?
He was there to cheer fucking Halliburton.
Oh my god!
Because they had him on Raw a few weeks ago.
So stupid, man. What are we now? The Knicks on the verge of elimination finally. Let's get it over with.
I think they're one game away, right, from elimination.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I think we're going. Game 6.
It's a 3-1, right? 3-1 series lead for Indiana.
That's a shame, man. They got a big comeback. That's all we got for you guys. Thank you for a great stream, man. It's always great on Tuesday nights. We really, really appreciate it. We got 1,000 likes, as always. Jason, I'm going to let you sound us off, as usual, on episode 97.
Interesting that Roman Reigns is apparently in talks to play Akuma in the next Street Fighter movie. And Jason Momoa is also supposedly in talks to be in the movie. And my question is, do we really need Roman Reigns and Jason Momoa in the same movie? Isn't that kind of redundant?
It is. It's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Akuma was one of my favorite characters. Actually, Roman Reigns could be a good Akuma. I could see them making him up as a good Akuma.
Probably not a lot of dialogue, right? Just a lot of fighting, like a badass character. I will say my still all-time favorite Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. My favorite Street Fighter was Street Fighter Alpha, the first Street Fighter Alpha.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
As far as old school movie adaptations, nothing beats the original Mortal Kombat, man. That was fucking grade A classic. But thank you guys very much for a great stream. I appreciate everybody that shows up here on a Tuesday night. We will be back next week, episode 98 of Tuesday Night Titans. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, go follow Jason on Twitter as well and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down in the description. And we will see you all right back here next Tuesday, 8:30 for episode 98 of Tuesday Night Titans. We'll see you guys later.
Hungry for life.